We're still
One.
initializing? All right, I think we're okay. It says we're live, and I'm seeing comments, and so I'm going to go with
Whoa.
that. All right, hey everybody! I'm so glad you're here. You guys are awesome. Like no lie, I love you guys. We were actually just talking about my ratio to subs. Whoops.
Cause it's lit.
Yeah, no, and it is because you guys are here, so we're
Mm-hmm.
excited. We're totally excited. I am. I don't know about these other two, but I'm psyched that all of you are here. So thanks for being here. We're gonna go over a stream today, and it is as you can see, relation versus religion. No, I'm sorry, religion versus science. And I need to make this disclaimer because I am an HR director, which also, and well, I don't know, anybody who knows me knows I'm also a diversity champion. And diversity isn't about getting black people with white people and, tolerating each other. It really is about diversity of thought. And I'm not an atheist, and I'm not well. So I'm obviously not anti-theist. I live in the north, and in the north, people actually do use religion to actually be a better person, and they don't impose it on other people. I'm really, and also as a Catholic, I was taught about evolution and, all of the things, the Big Bang. That was, I knew that that was created by a Catholic priest from the Catholic nuns that taught me religion. I mean, well, religion and science. So I hear that there's Catholics out there that believe in young earth, which is just so weird to me because Catholics as a group tend to be very pro science. And, what I heard growing up was um, we don't have to, science doesn't have to interfere with religion. We can keep our beliefs and just wait for the science to catch up. Now, I'm not saying that you should believe that or not believe that. What I'm saying is, I want diversity of thought in my chat. I'm not here to bash on religion. I'm here to bash on bad ideas. What I believe is that if you have an idea, it should be founded in, what do you call it? It should be founded in fact. All of your opinions should be based in fact. And if you believe anything that, if there's anything that says, okay, believe me and not your lying eyes, and I don't care what that is, be it your God, your husband, your boss, whatever. That I mean, it's you really got to second guess why they're telling you to do that. I grew up very Catholic, and the Catholic thought was if there's a God, then we should be able to be closer to God by studying his creation. And what I understand about Christians is that everyone believes that they serve a loving God and a God of truth. So if studying God's creation does not lead you to truth, then you serve a lying God. And you're going to have to make that adjustment somewhere. For here, we're going to keep railing against bad ideas. And I'm not here to bash any person or type of people. My channel exists to get people to think about why they believe what they believe. And we try to do that in an entertaining way because, that's what keeps you guys coming here and coming back. And I'm happy to entertain you. But to everyone with every thought that you have, be it religion or, even political or whatever, I just want you to know I want you to think about what you believe and why. And thank you for kind of coming to my TED Talk. Ember, welcome.
Hello,
Niddy,
hello.
welcome. Uh, yeah, I'm sorry. Did you guys want to say anything about any of that or?
No,
I mean, I
I'm
think that's fantastic, and I'm just glad to be here. So,
Oh, we're so glad you're here. I was in a thing. I can't even remember where I was because I'm in so many people's chats, and what do you call it? A lot of people were just like, "Oh, we didn't know that we could just ask to be on your show," and I'm like, "Oh my god, that's so horrible." So, like, don't want you to think like I'm ditching Stephanie or that I'm ditching Bree. Stephanie is still in my chat. She's a fantastic mod. I love my mods, like with my whole heart and soul. I think I have the best mods in the community here for me, and I hope you guys feel that way too. They're here for you. Um, and Stephanie will actually be on, I think, the Transatlantic Call-In show on the 31st. So I hope everybody's over there cheering for Steph and railing against bad ideas from questionable people.
Mm-hmm.
um,
And there's roughly a 100% chance that Stephanie will be shortly reprising her role as guest host.
100%. Stephanie will be back. Bree will be back. And I hope to see some more of you guys in here too. Because I know that everybody has their thoughts on bad ideas, and I want you guys all to feel comfortable like coming in and, having the thoughts. And, we're, so I know Niddy and Ember, kind of your ish is railing against bad religious ideas. So I thought we would marry bad religious ideas and bad science just for the two of you.
Boom.
I even brought my Bible.
Oh, not
Oh,
here it is.
I don't even, you don't need it.
Maybe I do.
You have
you
like a
never
really
know.
strong Bible
It
knowledge.
can't hurt.
Yeah, no, yeah, well, it can't hurt. But yeah, Niddy has,
Well, depends who's using it, I guess.
Niddy has a lot of
Well,
like
yeah,
really
that's
strong
very,
Bible
very
knowledge.
true.
Yeah, and how hard it hits you, I suppose.
And also,
Yeah,
Is it the
I,
hardcover or soft cover?
it's soft cover, but paper. Have you ever watched the like hydraulic press channel? When they just put paper there, it's crazy because it like crushes it into like I don't know, like limestone or something, and then it shatters. All right.
It's pretty neat.
pronoun check. My name is Maya. I go by she, her. Niddy.
My name is Nick or Niddy. I go by he, they.
Ember.
Ember, obviously. I'm most comfortable with they, them, but I won't get mad if you use anything at me.
Yeah, and if please correct me because Beck will tell you I have a really hard time switching up. I think I've been saying he, him, and I do apologize. They, them, regardless of who you are, it's always been a hard one for me. So
It's why I try and default to it now. And
I do.
to all of the people out there who are like, "Oh, I hate they as a singular pronoun," which to be clear, I also
Same.
do. We need a new word in the language, in my opinion. It would be
Zer.
helpful. But right, but we already use they as a singular pronoun all the time,
Mhm.
and I have done so, and I can think of one example in the last 6 months when somebody like corrected me with the more typical feminine pronouns in that case. One time. Nobody else has ever had an issue with it.
No, yeah, I'm constantly misgendering my friends. I'm like, I'm so sorry about that. It's not funny. Because I can imagine like how hurtful that must feel to you. But I want to put myself up there as an example that, if people make mistakes, they can say, I'm sorry, and they can self-correct, and people, are still going to love you and still going to welcome you into the community. You don't get canceled for making a mistake. This community has been very loving and welcome to me, and I hope that's the same for other people. I know that a lot of times you get embarrassed and you want to run away, but we all make mistakes, and everybody understands that. Nobody's going to like jump your ass if you make a mistake, as long as you come back and you're in good faith, trying to be respectful. So
Yeah, and if anybody does give you a hard time about your pronouns or anything else that people can be a dick about, come talk to me or Stephanie Helms or Titan. We'll stomp them, and it'll be fun.
Doc, pronouns.
He, him.
All right.
All right.
What do we got today? Who's going to introduce? Doc, introduce. We've been talking enough.
Yeah, so we're just going straight up with with science versus religion in the eyes of this absolute specimen of an individual. And
It's
it's
true.
going to be it's going to start off, and there's a lot of philosophy at the beginning. It's a little bit different from the normal Bad Science Sunday, okay? But
Yeah, like
there's
I
a
said,
lot of
we've done this for Ember and Niddy, who do this routinely, regularly in their streams.
and this is going to be so old hat because they're going to be like, oh, dude, like.
You got this.
So let us begin with our friend and countryman. I'm assuming John Pennington here.
Oh boy.
And guys, if you need to make a point, just say stop, and he'll pause.
And I tried to become an atheist. And what I found is it takes too much faith to be an atheist. It takes more faith to be an atheist than it does a Christian. And let me tell you why.
Make no.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
that's what we're dealing with here.
Somebody's read old Frankie's book.
Can I please just start with that? How is that any different than someone saying, "I tried to be a Christian. I tried to be an atheist"?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly.
What's the guide? That's actually worse to say because atheism is just the answer to one question: does a God exist? Yes, no. Okay, so what's there to try after that?
Yeah, you can't convince yourself.
Where's the canon?
Or you can't choose to be convinced of something. You either are convinced or you are not. So, like, it's misleading to say, I tried to be an atheist, because you're convinced there's a God, but you're trying really hard not to think so. I mean, I can try
I'm
really
just trying
hard
to
to think I
Romans
can
myself.
fly. Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
come
and
on.
I don't understand that. I mean, I understand that they're trying to put religion and atheism on the same plane, but I don't like the whole I had to have faith to be an atheist. I kind of wish they would. It's kind of like what is a kind? What is faith? Like like it's. I don't understand like where. I kind of wish they would tell us what they're basing that off of, or what they think faith
You know
actually
what?
is.
Those like sensory toys that look like a squeezable fleshlight thingy? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like that's what their definitions are like. You like try and squeeze them for one, and then it boom, something else. And you squeeze the other side.
Yeah.
It's a fun visual.
Now I'm like literally as of you just saying that, I'm like 95% convinced that was the immediate inspiration for the fleshlight. So, yeah.
It's a hypothesis.
All right, we're 10 seconds in. Let's do this.
No mistake about it. You were born to be a true millennial.
Welcome to True Millennial. I am Parker Walbeck, and I have today with me John S. Pennington Jr.
Glad to be here, Parker.
John, thanks for coming on. John's a good friend of mine. Actually, his son is my brother-in-law now.
Yes.
So we're very close, and John has written some amazing books. One I've read is Mr. Mormon. Since then, the church has changed their identity and not wanting to use the word Mormon.
Yes, that's
so he's
correct.
written another book, Big Bang Theory versus the Bible. A lot of the same principles. Mr. Mormon is geared more towards pre-missionaries, missionaries, correct?
Yeah. It's more like, you got questions how to teach the gospel and how to tell it in stories. And Mr. Mormon, when I wrote the book, I grew up non-LDS and got baptized when I was almost 18 years old. And I was a very slow reader, and I still kind of am a pretty slow reader, but I learned the gospel.
I don't find that shocking.
Yeah. It's the one claim I am not going to dispute. But this idea, he was raised non-LDS. It sounds a lot like our standard run-of-the-mill apologist saying, "Well, I wasn't raised in a particularly religious household. My mom was just like, brought us to church twice a week. That was all." It rings hollow to me.
But I was a total atheist.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Also, I just want to highlight briefly, this guy had to deal with the cognitive dissonance of the Mormon church shifting away from being Mormon to being LDS. This guy had a book titled Mr. Mormon, and then his religion like did the pivoty.
Rebranding is a bitch, and they didn't even consult him or send a memo or anything.
So
Yeah.
I have a big problem
Yes.
with a non-physicist, non-cosmologist writing a book about that very thing and then confessing I'm a slow reader. So did you read a book on the subject? Or did you quote mine? Or did you do neither? And you just worked from the Book of Mormon and did a hot take. I haven't read his book, but now I'm really curious.
It reminds me of that scene in Family Guy when Peter's like, I read a book about this once. And Brian's just like, are you sure it was a book? Are you sure it wasn't nothing?
Yeah.
No,
Right.
it was just a comic.
No, he was like, oh yeah, no, it was nothing.
Possible by listening to Cleon Skousen and such. So when I wrote Mr. Mormon, I really wrote it as an audiobook, and so that I could teach in stories, because if I teach a really good story about a scripture,
Right.
you only have to hear it like once or twice and you'll never forget it.
Uh-huh.
Right. So that was the purpose behind Mr. Mormon. And I've gotten hundreds of letters from missionaries in 23 countries, over 200 letters thanking me for writing Mr. Mormon, helping them with some question they had, and helping them teach the gospel.
So John tackles the gospel from kind of an intellectual, scientific kind of way. I've read Mr. Mormon. You can check it out on Audible. We'll put links below.
Audible.com. Yeah.
Audible.com. Super awesome book. I highly recommend it.
Because we needed the help there. Audible.com.
Okay, so one of the things that I started to notice leaving my faith was when they say things like taking this from a scientific and thought out perspective. Well, thought out according to who? What's their reference point for the depth that they're talking about? Because for them just to make that claim, it will sound like it has a lot of veracity, power, and truth to it, because they've looked at this stuff just a bit longer than the people they're talking to. And so when they say with a lot of confidence these like sweeping scientific claims or quote mines, whatever, the people who are just like, well, I've never heard that before, like with probably on average a high school education, and this stuff is like
at least a high school education in the topic. At least a high school education in the topic,
Right.
which is what most people have an education in.
Yeah.
Most people don't have beyond a high school education in like a given topic.
Right.
And if they do, they have like one class. And this applies to everybody, including people with PhDs and stuff, because you took I took an econ class or something, but no, basically, yeah.
So, but basically, when they do that, the absolutely infuriating thing is that they're hoisting authority over this area that they have no business putting themselves in authority in. But to their audience, they're like, this guy's a jackknife for Jesus.
He knows so many big words with like 5 syllables and shit.
My light fell down, sorry.
Violence.
All right, let's go.
Proof of gravity.
And it just tackles a lot of the hard questions that a lot of missionaries face, a lot of members of the church face. And so highly recommend if you're struggling with any doubts. He covers a ton of these topics. More recently, he's written the book Big Bang Theory versus the Bible. And a lot of these topics are just trying to show how science and scripture, religion, faith, they work together,
Yes,
right?
that's correct. Yes.
And so we want to talk about some of those topics today. John is a very smart man, very intellectual. And me personally, I'm more of a faith guy. I lead with faith. A lot of people out there lead with intellect. They lead with their brain. Things have to make sense to them logically.
Wow.
And
Yeah, I mean, you're just going to play a part out loud here.
For all the crap we give Doug, I'm just never going to forget the Turk sound clip of, hey, man, this makes sense.
Right.
I still love that clip. And even, Jay uses it too. if you redeem pocket change for it. Go on.
Oh boy.
You know, for me personally, like I like looking into the logical part of stuff, but it's not like this necessity like it is for some people. And
Yep.
I think for John, that was one of the aspects of his testimony that he needed to figure out. And so why don't you just tell your story? Tell us how
had it all gel.
yeah,
Had it all
how
gel.
it all gelled together in his head, and hopefully help it gel together for some of you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let me just dive off. I'm going to dive off kind of a deep thing, and we'll come back, and we'll come up and down.
You're just immediately saying you're going to go off the deep end is not reassuring.
It's always.
I don't know. I still
good
feel like I'm
indicator.
in the kiddie pool.
and
Now he's
and
gonna
you-
poop in it.
You're not wrong, because his book, right? At least I didn't look at Mr. Mormon, but The Big Bang Theory versus the Bible, subtitle for members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's another one of these self-published books, so there may be an editor, but it's not a editor. There's no publishing house behind it. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong and full of bullshit, but there's no quality control saying that it isn't either, you know?
Yeah.
I think. Anyway.
Perfect.
So let's do this. I'll just tell you, I was baptized when I was almost 18 years old, but about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, and I won't go through all the details, but I had a crisis in my life with me and God, and I tried to become an atheist. And what I found is it takes too much faith to be an atheist. Okay? I'm not being, I really tried to be an atheist. I said, I'm done with God, and I'm just going to be an atheist. And I went through the whole thing. It took me about a year, and I came up with, and I didn't coin the phrase, but too much faith to be an atheist. But it takes more faith to be an atheist than it does a Christian. And let me tell you why.
No, I want to hear the reason first.
So for me to be an atheist, what you're telling me I have to believe is about 13.8 billion years ago, there was a little speck in the universe that's little teeny, about the size of a pinhead, okay? And it went bang. Einstein's famous equation, E equals mc squared, which is energy can turn into mass can turn into energy kind of thing. And so it went bang. But before that thing went bang, forethought
bad.
never existed.
Bad fake
Forethought.
scientist.
Well,
Yeah, so the
This is what
forethought
happens,
thing,
Niddy.
that's going to be... So this is a thing that people who don't understand a fucking thing about Big Bang Theory always seem to do, is they go, oh, well, the Big Bang happened per E equals mc squared. The formula for the equivalence of matter and energy isn't part of the Big Bang Theory. That was a totally separate paper that Einstein wrote. It became his most famous equation because it's so short, but it's not part of Big Bang Theory.
no.
Also,
And he had almost
just
nothing
because
to do with it, right? Or
Yeah,
not nothing.
just because of the way you phrase that, Ember, Einstein did not come up with the Big Bang Theory, exactly, Niddy.
Right.
He actually asked the people, the astrophysicists, the astronomers, the people in the know, when he was coming up with general relativity, because he was like, is the universe expanding, or is it contracting, or is it static? And at the time, the general view was that it was static. So they did that, and then he put in a cosmological constant, which would act as a repelling force to counteract the gravitational force inward. And then later, the expansion of the universe came out, and he could, like, if he had come out and predicted that, I am on record as saying that I believe Einstein deserved 4 Nobel Prizes. In physics, although you could put the Brownian motion one that I think he deserved, you could also put that into chemistry. But if he had also then predicted the expansion of the universe, then I honestly, I think that would be a 5th one.
Yeah.
Well, that
Yeah.
beginning
Underrated
part though, where he's like, here's what it says or is, but I just couldn't believe it didn't have forethought. So you're saying there's all this stuff that are facts, right? Or that will set aside that you're inaccurate. You're saying that here's a pile of facts. I don't understand how those things came to be. Therefore, God.
Yeah, argument from incredulity. Gotta love it.
Okay. it went bang, and then we had clouds and particles and universes and suns and all this thing, and it kept going and it kept going.
Universe
What?
plural. Just gonna slide that in there. He just said
Universes.
Yeah,
universe
yeah.
plural.
And
But-
I
We're the
even,
MCU
even the
now.
particles part pisses me off because of course, we don't know for sure because we haven't been able to test yet, but our models seem to indicate that the particles thing is ishy. It may have condensed out of the first few microseconds after the Big Bang, but that's it just goes to show a complete lack of understanding about the nuance or specificity of the subject. He's got a pure surface level understanding. There was a thing and it went bang, and then universes and suns, apparently fully formed suns, just popped out. For fuck's sake.
They banged in too because the universe bangs, it bangs. Oh, baby, planets move, they move.
And kept going, and then we had the Earth. Still, forethought did not exist in the entire universe. Then we had
You know, I'm pretty convinced forethought didn't exist in him crafting this analogy either.
Solid.
plants on the Earth. Still, forethought has not existed. Then we had microbial life. Still did not exist,
Yeah.
right? Finally, we get, I don't know, mammals, dinosaurs, we get all these. And finally, forethought exists. When a pack of wolves hunts,
Whoa.
they hunt with a plan,
Yeah.
right?
Right?
Is it just me, or are we like skipping over a lot of steps here?
So one thing I've also noticed
It's all details.
in deconverting was how generally as people we like what are called heuristics. Our brains like to shorten explanations as much as we can to go on to the next thing and settle the dissonance or frustration or the anxiety of having something unanswered. So we'll create a quick and easy story to get us to progress in life. And so what we'll do is irrespective of time, length, or complexity, we'll make that little story. And that's what he's doing right here. He's making all of the information that, even representing it wrong, but he's making that information into a shortened story for his audience to digest and get that closure or confidence that he has by having that story. When really, if you took the time and took that story back apart, you'd find all the problems.
Yeah, it's myth making in abbreviated
Yeah.
form.
But it's disingenuous because
Yeah.
it
Okay.
doesn't allow without presenting like something, just caveating it just a little bit, like, I know I'm giving you a brief explanation, but go look into each part of this story yourself, right? That would be a million gajillion times better than just saying, here's how it was, and it was just, I can't believe it. Sorry.
Yeah, I
No,
can't believe it
no,
either.
Parker, I did not come to your studio today by random. 13.8 billion years, there was no forethought. A universe that never had forethought eventually creates things that have forethought. And so that takes more faith from me to believe that than someone before the Big Bang went bang had forethought.
Yeah.
There was a being that said, I'm going to do this on purpose, and I'm going to create beings on an
Well,
earth that have forethought.
Hold
So-
on.
Citation needed.
Yeah, for sure, but also major false analogy. Like he's saying, okay, to take his analogy and apply it somewhere else to explore how coherent it is. The atoms that make up our body, you're saying they have no forethought, yet they created a living being who's capable of forethought. That makes no sense. Therefore, the atoms must be sentient beings. It's the only way it could happen, right?
Yeah, I do not know why they make this argument. It immediately defeats itself. With like 1,000 obvious examples.
I'm gonna throw out like two names that are just gonna like that I guarantee you the people on this video that we're reviewing have like no actual knowledge of, right? Like Al-Ghazali, the person who even proposed the Kalam cosmological argument, and Richard Swinburne, who basically put together an argument from consciousness. It's like this guy is unconsciously shoving those things into a blender and calling it an argument. Philosophy.
Oh.
I don't know the atheists are wrong. I just believe they're wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't know Christians are right. I just believe they're right.
Whoa, whoa,
right?
whoa, whoa,
But the
whoa.
point,
Motherfucker.
I thought this guy was Mormon. Hold on. I thought this guy
Well, I
was...
don't know. So I just believe.
Yep.
Isn't that their whole thing, though?
Yeah.
That they don't believe they know?
Yeah.
Well, it varies from group to group. I don't know where the Mormons are on the whole "I know that I know that I know that I know" thing, like some of the Baptists and Pentecostals do. But it just it's frustrating how he's like, being an atheist requires too much faith. Now, I don't know anything. I just believe things. Like, what are you doing, my dude? He could really benefit from a Philosophy 101 class to kind of understand at least the basics of how thinking fucking works. It's a start.
Or a talk with a non-believer who's been a counter-apologist of any kind, not some non-believer who converted to Mormonism and gave you bad reasons why they didn't believe.
the point is, it takes less faith to believe that there was a God that thought this thing out.
Yeah.
It's a thing called forethought, right? And it takes more faith to believe forethought never existed up until just a little while ago, right? In the entire universe, right? So that's and I hope, look, I hope the atheists are not correct. I really do, because if they are correct, that means the Earth is just some big, huge anthill, and there's a bunch of ants running around on this anthill, and on this one side of the anthill, there's these really, these ants that are all happy, right? And there's study after study after study that shows you, university study that shows you, religious people who live their religion are in general happier, generally on Earth, than non-religious people. There's study after study after study on.
Yeah.
You see that, right? So what on this anthill?
Stop. Yeah. Wait. Need to speak to that.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all,
Blender's on
I
again.
like the anthill analogy because it's ridiculous, but at the same time, the Earth literally is an anthill. Ants live here too, but as for the
Is it a
happiness
hill,
thing.
though?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on how you define hill, right?
No definition of hill is going to admit Earth itself as a hill, okay? So I'm going to give them that.
The gravitational dent it makes
That
in
one.
time-space could be considered a hill. But yeah, as far as the happiness thing, I took the thing away as soon as you made me big.
Sorry. Just wanted everybody to
all
see
good.
this.
It's all good. Yeah, study after study after study has not shown that. In fact, it's shown that the more secular countries tend to be happier. It's like he's making arguments and logic and reason, but he has nothing to back it up. I hope I'm right. That's your, I'm going to prove this thing. I hope I'm right. And then when he does touch on something there's data for, he just pulls it completely out of his ass in contradiction to the actual data anyone can go look up.
I could look Mr. Pennington dead in the eyes and say, "Oh, that's the anthropic principle," and he would probably,
Who?
sure.
Honestly, normally I would pipe in and be like, I'm not sure that's true, Niddy. Come on, the guy probably knows the anthropic. I don't, but yeah, no, like if we did this and who is the Frank Turek? If this were Frank Turek and you said that, I'd be like, Frank Turek knows what the anthropic principle is. He may not understand it because he doesn't understand anything, I don't think, but he could tell you words that would more or less convey reasonably what it is. This guy, yeah, I I don't
You know,
have-
they'd be wearing the same shirt though,
Yeah, but
because
this
Frank
guy
likes to
has-
wear like bikini top versions of man muscle
Ye-
shirts. So
Yeah, but if this guy even said, "I'm not the one who came up with I don't have enough faith to be an atheist," which is like what Frank is like famous for saying. He didn't come up with it, but he's famous for like it.
Yeah,
Saying,
it was the guy
right?
he wrote the book with who
Oh, was it?
yeah,
know-
they co-authored. Well, they used a ghostwriter, but they both their names are on it. Frank was understudying the senior apologist. I forget the guy's name at the time, but yeah, that the concept was that guy's. They wrote the book, and then Frank made a big deal out of it. It made it like his comedy roadshow tour theme sort of deal.
are you telling me that John Pennington is the Vegas Elvis of Frank Turek?
Well, no, he'd be the Salt Lake City Elvis.
I don't have font like any text on the front of my shirt, and I think he does. So
Yep,
Yeah.
mine is Doctor Who stuff, Gallifrey, because
Doctor Who.
yeah,
Mine's
Wait,
a
hold on. So you have another Doctor W something or other
T-shirt.
that you're gonna put on your shirt, and it's not a weasel. How
Mine's hard to
did you do
see.
this to me, Ember?
you have to come out with merch, Mr. Vandy, Dr. Vandy.
mine's,
We
the
need
Magic Heart
we need
Force of
weasel
Will.
shirts.
The Magic Heart Force of Will.
Oh, nice.
Well,
Yeah, it's like it used to be like a $100 card of this guy holding this
Yeah,
burning
banned
stick
as
or whatever.
fucking Type 2 in the old days.
so there are five.
I have a titty shirt. Is I
Woohoo!
don't know. Just want to
Yeah.
I want to contribute.
Best
I
dressed
think
for
my
the
You
wins.
stream.
can contribute.
I mean,
Maya.
Tits
I love
down.
this shirt, but I am envious, so,
I mean, no,
We got
tits
five
up,
people on
tits up.
stream. We got 5 people on stream. Nobody in chat wants the big dude to have any merch. Okay, but
All right, I'm sorry.
we have
Okay,
people
everybody
on
want
the
to see
side.
my shirt.
Yeah.
There you go.
There
All
we go.
right. Roll the video.
There's a bunch of ants over here on this one side of the anthill, and why are they more happier than the other ants? Well, they believe that there was an ant 2,000 years ago that died and went to ant heaven, and they pray to this ant in ant heaven, and
I'm sorry, I just got to cut in. This guy is making an argument in favor of religion. I want to make that clear. So,
I was kind of wondering. I'm like,
no,
this sounds
it's
like he's
confusing. I'm gonna back up 5 seconds, and then you won't.
it 2,000 years ago that died and went to ant heaven, and they pray to this ant in ant heaven, and it makes them feel like when they pray that this ant in ant heaven will help them get a crumb every day, right? And there's someone else helping them find that crumb and get the crumb, and so they're generally happier. What I don't know, an army ant, worker ant lives, I don't know, 9 weeks on the planet, maybe 4 months. I'm not sure how long ants live. Okay, so.
If you're gonna make the analogy, like put in the bare amount of effort.
I know he doesn't know fucking anything about anything, does he?
This is like Seth Andrews got drunk and still wanted to make fun of Christianity for everybody. Like,
Yeah, except he's
mean,
trying to defend it.
Jesus Christ.
I
trying to
can
defend it.
even see that. The thinking atheist is not a person, it's an idea, who thinks anthills are stupid.
We got to get Seth on here.
Something.
So anyway, if atheists are true, if they are right, and this is just a big anthill, then I only have 8 or 9 weeks really on the planet, and I want the most happiest, best time on the planet I could possibly get. So either way, if I'm an atheist, I should be religious, or if I'm religious, I should be religious, because either path gives me a better 8 weeks on the planet, on the anthill, right? So anyway, that's how I look at it. I just think it's either way.
You should lie to yourself in order to be happier. It doesn't matter if it's true. Just tell yourself lies until you believe it to be happier. Even though that's not how that works either. Like, based on the actual studies, whether you're religious or not, he's making a better case for atheism based on the data. If you want to be happier, you should be an atheist. I mean, you don't even need data for that, though, because...
You're correct. Yeah, his argument is so bad, though, that even if the data were on his side, like, the way he's making the argument is just like, that sounds terrible. That's like believing in a lie for an empty reason. Like, why would you say that? Even if it... What?
Yeah, it's like, okay, you're out of a job, your rent is, 90 days past due, your car broke down, everything is freaking horrible, your bank account is empty. You could just lie to yourself and say everything will be fine, you'll be happier, so you should do that. Or, you could do something about it. One or the two.
The thing that actually pisses me off the most is that when I was a Christian, you only talk about the smallness of mankind in like your prayer life, or like when someone is trying to affront God or something, right? Like the Pharaoh, or like Judas, or whatever, right? It's only the people who opposed God who are tiny, right? But when you're talking about something as grand and awesome as eternity with God through the blood of Jesus Christ, man is worth so much. God is made us so important, so glorious. We can't even. It's so good, right? You never ever 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 in the context of your relationship of salvation just call yourself an ant. Because then you're making it sound like God was like, okay, I'll kill an ant for you.
Right?
It's like, what? Make your religion look good. Damn.
I'm going to choose to believe, because I don't know that God lives. I don't know Jesus is the Christ. I don't know Joseph Smith was a prophet. I believe Joseph was a prophet. I believe Jesus is the Christ. And I believe that God lives. And I think, Parker,
don't you think you should know,
our church sometimes,
like,
no, he doesn't.
And yeah, that's what bugs me, because like, if any of this were true, you should be able to find out for sure. Like if Joseph Smith were a prophet, there should be a prophecy, and we could verify. If God was not only real but interacted in reality the way is described in the Bible, it should be happening. We should see that, and we don't. So I don't understand where the disconnect is here between what I want to believe just to be happy and what we actually see that disagrees with that. Like the fact that you have to say. What's that, Doc?
I was just going to say, have you considered abandoning critical thinking?
Yes. Have you considered intellectual bankruptcy, perhaps?
Because let me tell you, I've definitely considered it, and I'm considering a career change. I think it would be highly lucrative. Just, I probably shouldn't say that out loud. You guys are going to come back when after I've become the new, like,
it's on tape.
I'll come out with my, and I already have this all figured out exactly what kind of fake pseudoscience I would do. I would go back to the periodic table of elements is fake, and earth, fire, air, and water. Those are that's what I would do anyway.
It's a plan.
It's
when we use, and we use the word no more than any other religion, I believe. And I've studied a lot of religions. I've been to a lot of churches, and I believe some people that are, let's just say 18 to 30 years old, they're like, I'm going to leave religion because I believe in science, blah, blah, blah. Or I don't know the Book of Mormon is true. Or I don't know Jesus is the Christ. I don't know Joseph Smith was a prophet, right? And I'm like, I don't know either.
Yeah.
So who told you had to know before you come to our church?
Right.
So imagine a scale 0 to 100, okay? 100 is so who would be in that category? Moses?
What was that?
We're doing this nonsense. How certain are you, though? Like, oh my goodness. I understand that it's a technique from street epistemology, sometimes to get people to open up over how much they know versus don't know. But I don't know. It's always struck me as disingenuous. And
That's not where he's getting it. When it's used in street epistemology, it's genuinely used to want to know the answer to that question, as opposed to It can be both. It can be both in street epistemology. It can also be that and a trap for a later like question. So I don't want to say it's never both, but yeah. Whereas here it's just a trap for. Oh, are you sure about that?
Yeah, if there's no truth, how can you know anything?
Maya, hold on. Make me big.
Oh.
Big Niddy.
I mean,
I am the Antichrist.
Perfection.
I love it.
Put that on a t-shirt.
That was a perfect compliment to Steph's comment not too long ago.
I'm leaving it.
Split the Red Sea. He had the tablets, right? Joseph Smith, he not only talked to God and talked to an angel, he had a book of gold plates that other people saw, right?
Given to him by an angel.
Yes,
of God.
and other people said, and so he's got physical, not
Dum.
just
Right.
you just can't say he was dreaming.
Right.
He had a physical thing in his head, so he would
Wait,
know.
you can't
right?
just say he was
Paul-
dreaming? I mean, you can't just
Let me
say
try,
he was
let me try.
dreaming.
Let me try. Joseph Smith was dreaming. Did I succeed? Was I?
No,
Maybe,
he was a goddamn grifter.
You know,
This is not
it'd be
disputed.
so fun to just clip that, and then like a Frank Turek or William Lane Craig, like, well, we know that the disciples would not lie. They actually saw the risen Jesus.
Right.
No, it's more like Jesus or so. I can't do it. Right now, but-
Jesus. It's a 3-syllable word when you say it in the hardcore preacher voice. Jesus.
I mixed William Lane Craig with the Baptist.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Paul would know. Peter would know. Peter walked on water. He would know. Okay. So in my lifetime, some years of my life, I've been a 88% believer. Some years I've been a 50% believer. And when I was about to become atheist, I was a 1% believer. Now, think about a zero. A zero is an agnostic. A -1 is an atheist. Okay.
Where's
And
he getting these values?
From the hot, stinky depths of his colon. I don't know, man. I don't know.
You know, I tell
I
people,
agree.
so I do this thing where I go to like Panera Breads, coffee shops, whatever, and I write on a whiteboard, it's best to be an atheist in 2023, let's chat, right? And people come up to me and they're like, what, you don't believe in God? I say, I don't believe in all the gods that have been presented to me. Could a God that I can't falsify exist? Sure. And that would put me at this guy's 0, not a -1. Because I'm not saying I don't know some unfalsifiable God does not exist, right? So I'm trying to play a little bit more fair when people do get the balls to talk to me, or the strong lady bits. I don't know. We should stop saying balls.
The courage.
You know, sorry, funny quote, because Betty White said, why do people say that you should have the balls to do something? I mean, think about it. If you kick a man there, he falls down. You know, they're just such a weak thing to say that you should have. Try being a vagina. That thing could take a beating.
A pounding even.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thanks, Betty White.
She was the best.
I'm butchered it, but go look it up. It's funny.
All right, let's go.
I couldn't go to 0 because what I just said to you, I got down to 1. I was like, I'm not believing in God anymore. I'm done with God. I'm so mad. You know, anyway, I won't go into the story, but anyway, I
No, I mean,
Oh, this
I
is
love
be-
how like Christians love to conflate mesotheism. Is it mesotheism with atheism?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because
I don't know what esotericism
You
is.
can't be mad at someone you don't think exists.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Yeah. No, but
Oh.
all atheists hate God, and he used to be one, so he can speak for you all.
Uh-huh.
That's what I
I'm
learned
looking up
from one of the God's Not Dead movies. I can't remember which one ended with the guy converting or reconverting back to Christianity right before he died.
Oh, the first one with Kevin Sorbo.
Was it the first one?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Kevin Sorbo has to be in all three of them, but I guess he wouldn't be because he'd be too recognizable.
No, you're thinking of he did die in the first God's Not Dead, but then he took over someone else's part in the Left Behind movies. I think he's like the pilot now or something.
There's
They're
a
on,
bunch of Left Behind movies. I mean,
Yeah.
there was a Nicolas Cage Left Behind movie.
Yeah, weird, right?
Yeah, and I
Back
was
when
like,
Nick Cage was in literally everything. He had to be in there
Right.
because he was in everything.
because I'm pretty sure his accountant like stole his money or something. So
Oh God.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I had a family member die, and it just crushed me.
So you were a member of the Church
Member
of
of the
Jesus
church,
Christ.
and I'm like, I'm done with God. And I for a year, and my faith went down to about a 1. But the point is, I still believed a 1.
good for you, my dude. What?
Percent. That means I'm a believer. I couldn't make the jump to there was no forethought in the universe before humans and mammals. Because it does. It's just it took too much faith. Really,
Yeah.
I'm not being joking here. It took too much, and I couldn't.
That's such a
and
weird. It's such a weird thing to get hung up on. Like, I can't imagine the universe began without a designer. I can't imagine complex life came to be without a designer. But freaking forethought, like, what?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No.
Why?
I'm with you, but I also kind of get it. I do think that. I don't think necessarily that it's impossible that consciousness genuinely cannot be explained strictly in terms of physical phenomena. That I'm not. That like wouldn't shock me. I don't think there's any evidence that you need anything else, but like, still, but like, yeah, I don't. Everybody has the weirdest things they get hung up on, and this is his.
Church
Maybe-
and became atheist.
Maybe it's just because it's a very different take that no other apologist was using. He's like, aha, that's my original thing that I will be known for.
Yeah, I mean, I go with the. I'm dedicated to the whole weasel bit, so I feel that, you know.
Yeah.
I asked them, how do you have that much faith?
Yeah.
I couldn't get that much faith. I never could. I got down to 1 and I couldn't go to 0. And so, some years I'm 8. So what I'm saying to you is, if you were a believer, if you're 1 year you believe 25%, and 1 year you believe 88%, and 1 year you believe 50%, you're still a believer.
Yeah.
And we just want people that believe to come to church. You don't have to be like some people who say they know Jesus is the Christ. John Pennington does not know. I don't know Jesus is the Christ. I don't know Joseph Smith the prophet. I believe Jesus is the Christ. I believe Joseph Smith the prophet.
I'm like pretty sure that this is very much against the standard rhetoric of most LDS practitioners. Like, they're very much about the I know Joseph Smith is the prophet. It's very much a central part of the thing, as far as my understanding goes, at least.
Well, I got to latch on to something else he said. We don't want people who don't believe to come to church. Then,
Yeah.
like, what's the point of your damn church? Like, what's the point of, like, your missionaries? Like, what if the missionaries went out on their little bicycles and their suits and their books and they're rolling up to Niddy's house and, like, knock, 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 Niddy, what's up? And I'm like, you know what? Maybe there might be something to this, you know? Like, we'll just pretend I got brainwashed or whatever. There might be something to this. May I please go to your church to figure this out? What do you think those motherfuckers are going to be like? Oh, no, you got to believe first. Bullshit.
To be fair, I think he probably misspoke there, and I think that he would probably be on board with what you just said.
Right,
I could be wrong, but like I don't want to hold him. I don't want to take because if you take the first opportunity when somebody says something which syntactically and semantically is unambiguous, like I don't think that people with blue shirts deserve rights. Like, you can say that, and
How dare you?
this is my point. and it's like, I think maybe, like, because sometimes you just say the wrong thing. And I
Yeah,
say
his
the wrong
mouth
thing.
is moving faster than his brain, which is probably
Yeah,
most of the
and
time.
I mean, I don't think his mouth has another choice if it's going to be like able to produce sounds in our range of hearing, right? So, yeah.
I mean, technically, actually.
You are technically correct. The best kind of correct.
So yeah, that out of the way. I'm still hung up on this whole. I have this 100 to 0 and atheists are -1. I didn't have enough faith. By even using his own metric, he's saying I didn't have enough faith to have no faith. And it hurts my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he doesn't think that's what he's saying.
I'm sure he
But it
doesn't
is.
think that.
Yeah, but
I'm a believer. Therefore, I'm still coming to church because I believe, because I can't get to 0. So anyway, I thought I'd dive off into that little cliff for you. So let's go from there.
No, I think that's amazing. I had a buddy who long car drive one day. He tells me he doesn't believe in God and goes on to tell me how one of his biggest fears is death. And that same concept you just brought up, like I said, well, wouldn't you like to live an entire life without the fear of death?
Mm-hmm.
Like, exactly. Neither of us know for sure what's after this life.
Right.
But if I spent my whole life not fearing death and you spent your whole life fearing death, which one of us would have been happier in life?
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, if for nothing else, if after this life there's nothing,
Yep.
at least I would have had hope and joy and not feared my whole existence
Right.
of what existed after.
You're the
Okay,
ant.
hold on.
What Christian doesn't fear death? Like, they're just like, nope, I'm totally ready to go. I mean, and they may say that, but it's not like they want to die. They want others to die.
Right.
My grandpa was pretty down to die when he died.
Well, yeah, when he died, I'm pretty sure that, like, once you, 80, 90, like, you, at some point, like, probably around 60, 70, you start making your peace with the thought.
Right.
I
And that's
imagine it
regardless
depends
of faith.
dramatically on the circumstances of your life. For him, he was a widower. His wife of 55, 60 years, had passed, and and very religious man, was totally convinced that he was going to go and be with his wife when he died. So, yeah, it's a thing that, like, I see what he's trying to get at, I think. But
what
he's
bugs
trying
me
to
about
sell.
it is that it's complete bullshit. Complete bullshit. Because, there's that old meme about there are no atheists in foxholes. Well, I can't speak for every person who's ever served in the military. But in my experience, the opposite is true. If it's the Christians who aren't Christians in foxholes. It's the Muslims who aren't Muslims in foxholes. Because they believe... they profess that they believe that they will go to an afterlife of some kind. This dude's Pascal's wager notwithstanding. But when the shit hits the fan, they're always the first ones crying, I don't want to die. They're terrified because I feel like, and again, I can't speak for everybody, just the people I have seen, they don't actually believe. They don't want to die because they're terrified of what happens next.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, death is, even for the religious, is still an unknown. But what he's trying to do right here is sell the whole, oh, you want to be a Christian or ostensibly a Mormon, right? Because, we don't fear death. And, if you just believe, like, you can be like us. And of course, when you come over there and you still fear death, well, you just don't believe enough. I mean, he's just trying to sell his whatever
last
he's
thing.
selling. Go ahead.
I want all of us, when we make a video or end a live stream, just to all together now say, we don't fear death because we won't be around to care.
Yeah, I mean,
but normalizing that thought for people who are religious, or like for myself, I heard that on like Dave Warnock or Seth Andrews, someone talking about it.
It's exactly what I was just thinking.
how would I be afraid of something I'm not around to care? I won't be around to care about.
Yeah.
Like
No,
you
I've thought
actually
about
get
that
a
a
lot
lot.
of peace because you know like, oh, I actually don't have to I don't have to worry about anything after whatever that death is going to be happens, right? Like because I'm not going to be around to deal with the fallout of it. Yes, people will be sad. I get that. I don't want them to be sad. But also like you can't change it once it happens either. So it's like just but normalizing that idea for people who are religious who need something, some kind of closure about death, when they've probably never heard that idea from a non-believer, where they're just like, I
Right.
guess I just die. I never thought about that. And what's funny is like uh that guy right there, let's guess that he's like in his mid-20s, at best like early 30s, right?
Hmm.
Like how often do you think they've actually heard from like some non-believer who's thought about this long enough to be like, you know what, I won't be around to care about it, who's grown past that juvenile, oh god, what will happen, like especially people who are like ending high school, early college, of course they're going to be afraid of death. Like that's just because you think you're invincible, and then someone's like, "You're not invincible. You could die. You could get hit by a bus any second. What are you going to do when you die?"
Yeah.
Jesus,
I
hi
don't
Jesus.
believe any of these people have met an atheist, an actual atheist.
Right.
Because that would be, unequally yoked, and they have to stay away from them, and the whole nine. And so they just project.
Mm, yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
that's it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You chose, right? But
I love that analogy.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
let me digress here, and I know you don't know what I'm about to say, but so I'm about the age of Parker's dad. Parker's dad is an incredible guy, and he lived in you guys lived in our state for years. And I don't know if you know this, Parker. My age group, my guys in my age group used to talk about your dad. Your dad figured life out way before most dudes figured life out. Most people figure life out about 40. By 40, you know how the PTA works. You know how a mortgage works. You know what I mean?
How the PTA? What?
It's kind of a little out there. Okay.
Let's fill up this dumpster. Keep going.
You know these things about 40, right? And so your dad, now get the numbers here. Your dad and mom have 4 natural children.
4 biological,
And then
8 adopted.
And 8 adopted. 12 kids, right?
Yep.
And your dad has been a bishop and is now the stake president, correct? And he's doing a phenomenal job, right? So kudos to your dad. But seriously, when I was younger in the stake that we grew up in, and you were just little, I don't know who you were when you were little, but when we were there, we used to discuss your dad. How does this guy understand life when he was 22 and 27 and 32? How did he figure out life so well way before most people figure life out? And I don't know if you have a comment on that, but maybe you could reflect. But I think we're talking about this kind of the same thing today of people who figure it out with Jesus. They figure out life with Christ. They figure out life with faith, and they get it. And your dad got it way earlier than most other guys with his 4 natural children, 8 adopted. He just gets up every day and tries. He tries to follow Christ. And, anyway, there was a lot of discussion through all those years about your dad. And he doesn't know this, right? He doesn't know people are talking about, but we're talking good about him, right? Because we just couldn't believe how much he could do with, a career, all those kids, adopted kids,
I want to know what he did.
a wife, bishop, all this, he just,
I think he might have been a mob boss.
For real. Like
Right?
he had to have been raking in like tons from like the what is that called? The donation plate or whatever. Like
Tithes
seriously.
and things.
Yeah. Because like
Mhm.
or like from above, they're like, oh man, this guy's popping him out and he seems to be decent. Let's just throw some money his way so he can have more kids and keep the church numbers up. Like on whatever other non-bishop job he supposedly ever had, there is no way you can adequately support that many kids. You just can't. Like, and it's only happening in I have too much money fantasy land.
Yeah, if you believe as much as this dude did, then you too can just be, super fucking
There's
rich.
something else funny going on there. It's not tied to believe and magic money appears or magic food and
Yeah, the manna will rain from heaven.
yeah.
He's a fantastic person. I want your viewers to know that you have an incredible role model as your dad.
Well, I appreciate that. That's a great compliment. The one word that comes to my mind describing my dad is consistency.
That seems questionable. I wouldn't. I don't know. That doesn't seem like a positive thing. Maybe it's not a negative thing, but it doesn't seem positive. Like consistency, really?
For lack of other qualities he did or didn't have, one thing he always did was he was consistent in family prayer, scripture study, taking us to church.
Yeah, your dad sounds like an asshole, dude. I'm sorry, like, I genuinely, like, I think he's trying to say a good thing about his dad, and I think his dad was maybe trying to be a good guy, but I think his dad was probably an asshole. That's a heavy thing to say, also, to somebody that I don't know, and it's not on the stream, I guess, so it's not that heavy, but still.
Doing home teaching.
Yeah.
He just did the little things. Like you said, he acted in faith.
Yeah.
Whether or not,
Wait.
I never knew when he was up or down in his faith, or I never knew when he was struggling in his business. I didn't know when he lost his job and we almost lost our home. He didn't show any of that.
Right.
He just consistently lived the gospel every day, every week.
And that's what I'm talking about. He figured life out. Because some people, if they drank alcohol in high school, when they're about to lose their job, they go drink again.
Yeah.
When they smoked, they go back to smoke. Whatever they do, they get stressful. Like your dad did not, right? And that's what I'm trying to.
How the hell do you know?
Well, I guess they were like good buddies in pre that dude being born days or some shit.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe given what he said earlier, maybe he does know, but like, I don't know. There's a whole lot more going on, and I'm like, I feel weird.
Yeah, well,
Say
and
about
it's like
even-
in my life, I've had periods. Yeah, sure. Like I drank more than others. Maybe my drinking was a little problematic at times, but guess what? Like through community, people, support, different activities to do, healthy outlets for my, sad times or my manic times, whatever. Like I had years where didn't drink at all, or one or two a month, or again just had a little more fun. Okay, do it again. Like 1-2 years, like didn't make a difference one way or the other. It's like,
Yeah.
this guy has no idea what he's talking about people. All right, go on.
even through the bad times and good times
Yeah.
in his life, he just figured life out with Christ, kind of thing.
And I think that goes back to your point that that's why those ants are happier, is because they have something to hold to when times inevitably get rough. They have this, what we call the iron rod. That's like, okay, well, I know this leads to the tree. So I'm, even though there's a lot of wind
Consistency.
and there's a lot of storms brewing, I just got to keep doing this one thing.
It'll work.
And I know I'll be okay.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, it'll work. Yeah. Hey, let me go a little bit on a little bit of science and religion real quick. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a preview of the first couple chapters of Big Bang Theory versus the Bible. I'm writing this book because I believe, not just in our church, in America, kids 15 to 30 years old are choosing science over religion.
Yeah.
15
And it's
to
not
30
just
as
us, it's
kids?
everyone else.
I'll take it. I mean, I'm 31, so
He's really into that extended adolescence all of a sudden.
I guess. Holy crap.
So wait, is he saying that his dad was a kid when he figured life out?
Yes. Yeah, and no, never mind. He's talking about the other guy's dad. I'm like, what he said about the dad doesn't add up, but yeah, and that's another weird thing too, though, that this dude and the other dude's dad were such good buddies apparently that their kids got married to each other. I mean, it happens, but it strikes me as sus.
Yep. I did that.
And so you're seeing people. And so I say to them, listen, before you go all the way and you say, look, I'm just going to go totally atheist, give me 45 minutes. Give John Pennington 45 minutes. Let me give you a couple things maybe just think about.
Yeah.
Okay, first one. In the Bible, there are 6 days of creation. Okay? In the Big Bang Theory, which is still a theory, 13.8 billion years ago, there was this little speck, and it went bang, and it...
We're
Yeah,
going to have
you know-
issues, I can tell.
I'm actually
Yeah.
surprisingly tolerant of the whole "it's just a theory" thing, compared to I think a lot of people. But we don't have to get into that. It doesn't matter.
I mean, we can get into it. I mean, it's okay. You know.
He didn't have to make that side swipe. That was just straight up dog whistle to the science
Yes.
denier people. That's all that
Yes.
was.
Thank
He
you.
didn't have to.
Yes, 100%, 110%.
It created light. That was the first thing happened in the universe that we know of. Light was created. Gamma ray light.
Was it though?
By the light.
Here, hold up. We're gonna do a little quick read here. Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty, but earth, let's just leave that aside for a second. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." Oh, okay. Yeah, that's compatible with that 13.8 billion years chart you got there.
Yeah, like
Also,
we
fun fact,
Yeah.
is that some Christians, they get in here, and what they do is they have a theory. It's called gap theory. Have you heard about this, Ember?
I've heard of God of the Gaps, but I
No.
can't imagine
this is a very special thing. So
Okay.
here, you get your Genesis 1:1, right? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. But that's a special introductory verse. Okay? Just
Okay.
keep that in mind. That's a special introductory verse. And then when you get to verse 2, now the earth is formless and empty, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. There's an indeterminate amount of time between those two actions, or between those
Okay.
two statements. And so that, for the gap theory Christian, allows for, one, the chapter of Genesis to have some kind of larger framing. 2, it allows for the concept of God having a created order before the universe, which was just the heavens, so that Satan had time, an indeterminate amount of time, to interact with God, to interact with angels, and fall. And so then God creates a material world. And that gets rid of some of these problems with trying to interpret Genesis 1:1 to Genesis 1:2, and then, like, because you could say, like, the darkness over the deep was just the darkness of nothing being there. Like, there was no material world. There was just the heavens. There wasn't an earth. Do you see? Because verse 1 says God created the heavens. Verse 2 is the earth was formless and void. So let's separate these so that there's the heavens already exist, but the earth does not. And so 1:1 is saying God did all the things, but verse 2 is happening after somehow there was heaven stuff.
That yeah,
Do you
I
get
can
what
I
I'm
can kind of
saying?
see that. Yeah, because otherwise, if you try, especially if you try to compare it to the Big Bang, then you've got both heaven and earth and water existing before the let there be light moment, and that's a
Oh.
big problem.
Well, and there's another thing about how some Christians read just Genesis, the first part of Genesis 1 altogether, is that they'll make this appeal to the ancient Near Eastern concept that water is not literal. That, like, that water is often used not in, like, the historical parts of, like, the Genesis narrative. Like, obviously the flood is a flood, right? Or, like, the rivers in Genesis 3, if this water flowed here, that water flowed here, that those are literal uses of water. But you'll also see water events associated with some kind of chaos, which God has to bring order to, right? Like the parting of the Red Sea. That's a crazy event, right? And what does God do? He's bringing this order. The water's flushed back in, and the Israelites are all safe, yay. Or the idea here is that there's chaos, there's disorder, right? And God's continually bringing more order into his creation, right? So there was the formlessness and voidness is like tohu wabohu. It's this craziness, and God has to bring it down to something that's manageable and tangent. And so, like, the whole creation narrative then starts outwards and then works in to this like stable condition of order in the garden, with man being the pinnacle of creation or whatever. That's how I generally read Genesis 1. There you go.
Oh, hey, Niddy. I have a question here for you.
Walking on water was different in the original too, wasn't it, Niddy? Are you talking about God's walking on water or Jesus' walking on water? I need clarification.
All right, I'm sorry, go
but
ahead.
you know, in the book of Job, you'll see water associated with chaos quite a bit. Like the creatures of the deep. It's a whole crazy mess down there. Stay away from that. The book of Jonah uses water as a chaos in the narrative that needs to be settled by God in the sacrifice of Jonah. The winds and the waves in the Gospels, what happens there? God himself has to calm the chaos down. So anyway, it's a narrative feature of ancient Near Eastern mythos.
She says she's
Jesus
talking about
walked water.
Jesus.
I don't necessarily think so. I think that's a literal thing, but the idea of Jesus being the calm thing in the chaos is still there, right? In that so that what's the word I'm looking for? Mythological significance is still in that purported miracle.
All right.
There you go.
So, real quick before we go, if there's any questions about moderation of chat, everybody knows how to find me on Discord. Hit me up. All right.
Oh.
Hit play, please.
Don't worry about it, Niddy.
All those light was bang, it was created. The last thing created in the universe that we know of, human beings. Okay, so you have bookends.
Human beings, the last thing created in the universe. Sorry, pause. There's no time. There's no time.
For the calendar. What's first? Light. What's the last thing? Humans. And 4.6 billion years ago, they say our sun was created and our moon was created right after that. Okay, if you divide 4.6 billion into 13.8 billion, it's exactly 1/3 of the way back. Or from light to our sun is 2/3, and then there's 1/3 from the sun to humans. So you have three things on the calendar: light, the sun, then humans. But the sun is 2/3 of the way through.
Yeah.
Okay. So you go to Genesis, right? There's 6 days of creation. The first thing, light. The last thing, humans. And the sun isn't on the first, second, or it's on the 4th day.
Yeah.
So the sun is made 2/3 of the way from light to human.
No.
What happens
no.
on day 3? Huh? What happens on day 3, my dude? Where are they growing?
Yeah, exactly. They're not growing in fucking starlight. For fuck's sake! All right. First of all, the sun precedes the moon considerably, but that's the plants, the earth and heaven are on day 2. It just, there's so very wrong with that. But also, I don't think his math is quite right. I think he's substituting something in the estimated age of the sun. He's cherry picking a value to make it look like it fits his narrative. And it's like the 7-day week thing. There's no reason to think this is the case. It's a pseudo coincidence. It's not only coincidental. It's a faked, forced coincidence. You know?
It's pretty close though. So I don't know when the sun is theorized to have. Also, there's always a question. You know, when does a occasionally, you know, reacting ball of hydrogen, you know, that's kind of glowing a little bit, when does it turn into an actual star? You know, and this is going to be a question that no matter what definition you choose, you're going to have a several 100,000 year error bar, I think. So which is a pretty small error bar when you're talking about billions. To be fair, it's really a very small one. But also, yeah, no, Earth didn't necessarily form right when the sun started fusing. It probably formed fairly shortly after that, though. So it is approximately close. I'll give him that. But where were the plants growing? They were growing on Earth, which did not come before the sun. That's not how any of that worked. Okay, does he think that the Earth, does he think that there's any support for the Earth being 9 billion years old? Which would be the mathematical consequence of the entire... The reason he's like, hey, look at the sun, is because it happens to show up 2/3 of the way through. That's his whole point.
Yeah, it's skipping the inconvenient parts for damn sure.
Yeah. So it's like reverse cherry picking a pseudo coincidence because he's ignoring the parts that blatantly conflict with what he's trying to spin together here.
And they're right there on the screen.
I know. It's one of the things I love ever so much about the dipshit apologists, because they will just throw right in your face contradiction to what they're saying out loud. And I don't know if they don't proofread or if it's like the scammer thing, right? How scammers could make a perfect email, but they send an email that's deliberately full of typos and shit because they only want the dumb people who don't notice. Because those are the gullible ones that you can easily scam. It may be the same thing here. A lot of apologists do it, and I think they do it on purpose for the same reason. Because the people who don't notice the obvious glaring inconsistency, they're the ones who are going to send you the checks for your ministry and to buy your DVDs and all that other stuff.
Obvious, he miss.
Humans. So, look, mathematics is a language of science, right? And you're sitting there going, okay, well, you could say Moses got lucky. But you're asking, look, why would a human 3,300 years ago, and you could say Moses didn't write the Bible, whatever. A human wrote the first 5 books of the Bible.
Yeah.
Well, let's say it was Moses or not Moses. I'm not going to argue on that. But a human wrote it. So what you're saying is this human, if you don't believe it.
I'll agree with that. Human wrote it.
You believe the Bible is fiction. So this human took a pen and decided, and let's say the human, like Moses, was raised in Egypt, okay? There's lots of gods in Egypt. The biggest, baddest god is the sun god Ra.
Right.
There's no one bigger than badder than the Ra, right? So we're saying this guy who was raised in Egypt says, I'm going to write some fiction and I'm going to pound it off as scripture. And I'm going to put the sun, not the first day, not the second day, not the third day, the fourth day of 6 days, right? Why would anyone say that the sun and the moon, if you're 3,300 years ago, why would anyone say the sun and the moon was not created first, or light was created before the sun and the moon?
Yeah.
Why would anyone say that? So I'm giving you circumstantial evidence. I'm giving you mathematically. He put it exactly where. Why would he say that? Because it's true, evidently.
Yeah.
And so, did the Big Bang Theory people plagiarize
The Bible.
the Bible?
Oh my!
Right? Because obviously the Bible said this way before they did, right? Now, the Bible doesn't have all the equations out, but if you think about the guy, maybe Moses, who wrote the first couple pages of Genesis, let's just say the earth, the world, the universe is 13.8 billion years long. Okay.
I'm just going to
He crammed that all into 4 pages.
No, I don't. Okay.
So if I said, Parker, listen, I want you to do. I want you to tell me, write down an essay. I want you to give me the whole universe from light to humans.
Yeah.
You got 4 pages, dude. Go. I don't think you can do a better job than Moses, right? And especially putting the sun right where it's supposed to. So mathematics is the language of science. I've just shown you mathematically. It's highly improbable that a dude 3,300 years ago decided to put the sun right at 2/3 of the way through. That's my first chapter in Big Bang Theory. And I'm saying to kids, if you're going before you become atheist,
consider this.
Have you considered?
Why would you compress it to 7 days? Just outright say it was 13 billion, 14 billion years ago, whatever the fuck, or the sun was 4 billion years ago. Thank you, Brian, for looking up the exact data on that. It's just if he wanted to be clear, why not just say it? And then we'd be like, oh, this is a ridiculous number. No one's going to believe that. And then, thousands of years later, we discover, oh, that's what it actually was. It would slam dunk confirm your religion.
Right?
But also, the whole fucking thing is plagiarized. Like, every part of Genesis is borrowed from previous cultures' stories.
Yeah, I just pulled one up. Are you ready?
Do it.
When the heavens above did not exist, and the earth beneath had not come into being, there was Apsu in the first order, their begetter, and demiurge, Tiamat, who gave birth to them all. They had mingled their waters together, before meadowland had coalesced and reed bed was to be found, or had come into being when no destinies had been decreed, the gods were created within them. So you can see pretty clear parallels here. There was no things, and then a preeminent god made things from what? From waters. So Niddy, you're right. I mean, Ember, you're right.
Niddy is right also.
Niddy is also right.
I've never seen both of them in the same room at the same time.
Who?
Virtual room, yes. I mean, that's what's happening right here.
Oh,
but
yeah. This is just CGI.
Yeah, you figured it out. Niddy got so good at Adobe Animator that Niddy created this super realistic looking alter ego and is secretly controlling both of us.
Much like the ancient Hebrews, I borrowed really good ideas from all the counter apologists, and I created Ember. So
that tracks. That's my new headcanon.
So, I'm just a figment of Niddy's imagination.
Ooh.
This man hurts me, though.
This one point, right?
Well, I always tell people, look, you can become whatever you want. Whatever you choose to believe in, you'll become. If you want to be an atheist, you'll seek out all the arguments that are in favor of atheism.
Support your.
You can't though. Choose right now to believe that the Earth is flat. Do it. You can't.
Exactly. And so, it really just comes down to choice. Like, if you want to be an atheist and you want to statistically be less happy in life, like we're not just saying that, there's studies done on that, then go ahead and do that.
Right.
But we are inviting you to consider being happier by being religious.
Is there a more straightforwardly fallacious way of doing an argument from consequence?
Nothing comes to mind.
More obviously fallacious than what we just observed all up in this nonsense right now.
Well, he's pretty much outright saying you don't have any good reason to believe anything, so just believe whatever makes you happy, and also our thing only is the only thing that makes you happy.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
It's so weird. It's like it's such a conspicuously bad form of the argument that I'm like, are you on my side? What? Like,
maybe he is. Maybe he's secretly the Mormons have this idea. We just covered it in the chapter today over on Aaron's. The Antichrist is basically any atheist. Anybody who says what the apologists are saying is bullshit is the Antichrist. There's many, many Antichrists. And so I guess technically I'd be an Antichrist. Hey, I've been promoted.
I was the Antichrist.
Well, I mean, the man's black, so they all.
True.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whiteliness is close to godliness.
He grew up Mormon. He's been a Mormon. So to him, if he's peddling information that leads people away from the true church, he is also an Antichrist. So maybe in his own mind, he is being one of those infiltrative servants of the Satan who is trying to be like a wolf in sheep's clothing, but leading people away from the church. Or something.
Require a little bit more of you. You may have to serve more. But guess what? These are the very things that make people happy.
It fulfills life.
Mm-hmm.
So you're the ants on the anthill. The ants on the one other part of the anthill, if they do service, if they pay their tithing, if they give money to fast offerings for poor people, if they do things for the people, it brings them joy. And the ant that went to heaven 2,000 years ago, or Jesus Christ who taught that, taught a radical teaching. Yeah. Before Jesus, it was...
Paying your tithing makes you happy. You heard it here first.
Give me money.
Is chat
Maya, do you have a Patreon?
Huh?
Do you have a Patreon? You should have a
I do
Patreon
not.
so people
I
can
do
tithe.
not have a Patreon.
I mean, you
Oh,
hold this
tithe, yes.
church weekly. People should be able to contribute for, being a part of the community service or something. I don't know.
Yeah, according to the Shills chat, Dr. T is supposed to start a religion.
Also, I think chat is glitched right now, because a bunch of my comments just randomly got like nixed, and they were like, "No, you can't say that." So,
Oh, it's just the moderators don't like you.
well, I know Brian Stevens also was. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I've been getting some
Right.
bandwidth alerts.
An eye for an eye. Someone
I guess
hit-
YouTube is kind of borked.
Yeah.
No, oh,
So you
okay.
go back.
Yeah, I have
And
to. I
Jesus
thought it was
was
just my internet. Sorry.
He was like, no. I have a better way for you.
Sorry.
And if someone hits you, you pray for your enemies, right? You have a more fulfilling life. Now,
Yeah.
whether you're an atheist or whether, I believe that principle is true. Therefore, your life here upon the earth will be better under that principle. So,
Tell me more scientific backings of gospel truths.
yeah, and again, this is all evidence. I have no proof that
Yeah.
Jesus did what he did.
Well, let's be
But-
clear, you can't prove.
It's all evidence, but I have no proof.
What is happening right now?
I
He
still
exists
believe he
or
did
doesn't
it. I
exist.
still believe he did it. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. So it's belief. Back to the whole belief. I don't know. I just believe. So let's do another one. I'll do. I think it's the second chapter. I think it's the third chapter. It's Big Bang Theory. No, it's the script. Solar System versus the Scriptures. I think it's chapter 2. And I like the versus thing, right? Big Bang Theory versus
Yeah.
the Bible. Solar System versus. So here's the other one. Okay, I'm going to compare
Wait,
the Son
hold
of
on.
God to the.
Did he just like completely forget like which chapter was which in his own book?
Well, I mean, he probably had ChatGPT write it anyway, so who knows?
I mean, that's something I can imagine doing, and that's like, not because it would be embarrassing when I did it.
All right, are you guys ready for this?
No,
Act-
no, I'm not. Niddy, no.
Acts 18:28, the Apostle Paul, he vigorously refuted his Jewish opponents in public debate, proving from the scriptures that Jesus was the Messiah. So the Apostle Paul apparently valued proof.
Yeah.
Whoopsies.
It'd be cool
Anyway,
if
going on.
he presented the arguments, though. That would settle a lot of disputes for thousands of years.
Or knew what a fact was.
Yeah, right?
Sun in the sky. I'm going to compare Eve to the moon. I'm going to compare Adam to the earth. I'm going to compare Jupiter to Satan.
And what's the idea here is
Oh,
that God
okay.
created the universe in a
As
way that
one
was
does.
relevant
Yes.
or similar to the gospel plan.
Yeah, I think so.
These are
It's
correlations.
levels. He does it. He's
He's a god of order.
He's such an artist.
Nothing is done by accident.
Yes,
And
yes.
if there's these correlations, chances are God's done it on purpose.
He's giving you signs everywhere
Yeah.
so you can correlate it, right? So okay, the sun and the sun in the sky. That's really easy, right? The sun gives you life because it has the rays, brings plants, and the Son of Man brings eternal life. It's all good. I don't know
both
if you know
called
this,
the
but
sun.
like you have.
They're both the sun.
That's some
It's-
zeitgeist
yeah.
bullshit,
This is, I mean, I don't
They're
Right? I was
homonyms.
thinking that.
which is really bad because you should never, anyway.
Yeah, like they coincidentally sound similar in English. Therefore, 2,000 years ago, it was destined to happen.
I mean, yeah,
Because.
right. But because see, Maya and I are on the same page here. We understand that the people that we're mocking, we're only mocking them because we are afraid and they are right, and we know that.
Oh, right. And because we're Antichrist.
And
obviously.
we're Antichrist. Yeah.
Just like Niddy.
Yep.
Yeah. Just like Niddy, just like Ember.
I mean, but they're, what do you call it? Mormons, which means that dark skin is like inherently demonic in their
Oh,
religion.
is my
Yeah.
ant too dark?
Your aunt is a Lamanite.
Oh,
Oh no! His sacrifice is totally ineffective. Hang on, I'm gonna fix this.
have iron running through your blood right now. I have iron in my blood. Okay. So what happens in
how
science,
hemoglobin
if you
works.
understand, is a sun produces hydrogen, and then it burns and produces helium. And as they go up, the hydrogen is at number 1 on the periodic table because it has.
No, suns don't produce hydrogen. Suns are made of hydrogen.
Nuh-uh.
Not entirely
proton, one
hydrogen, to
electron.
be fair.
Helium is number 2, has 2 protons, 2 electrons. Carbon has 6 protons, 6 electrons. Iron has
Sometimes.
26 protons, 26 electrons. Gold has
Wait,
79 protons.
okay.
That's
Oh,
how
that's right.
that's how they get. They're heavier. They're heavier elements. Okay, and so when a sun, a larger sun than our sun, when will go supernova, it'll start producing
Helium
helium
is
to
a
hydrogen,
heavy
or sorry, hydrogen to helium.
element?
And
Or what?
Huh?
He's saying, wait, helium is a heavier element? Or are we just talking about?
Then what?
That's what I'm saying. Like, what?
Well, I think he was comparing it to hydrogen.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
he's
give you that.
talking. If
So,
he's not
yeah.
about to go completely off the rails, he's trying
Which
to
he
say
is,
that
but-
stellar fusion is how we get bigger and bigger and bigger elements. Which so far so good.
Okay.
Up to iron, yes.
then go up the ladder, and over time it goes up the ladder. It gets to carbon, gets a little higher, and then when it gets as high as iron, as soon as the sun introduces iron into its sphere or its body, the life of that sun is almost over. It's almost
True.
instantaneous, right? It's so heavy it now collapses on itself. It comes in, collapses, and compresses, and then creates a supernova. And that energy, boom, creates all elements heavier than iron.
So,
For the most part, he's the star doesn't actually get heavier. In fact, it loses mass as it burns. But yeah, it lacks it doesn't produce enough energy to sustain its weight, and that's what causes the collapse.
So quite recently, I had the wonderful opportunity to ask Ethan Siegel this question when he was on. It might have been Skeptic Haven. Was it on Skeptic Haven? It was like a week and a half ago or something now. But Ethan Siegel is an astrophysicist by training and a science communicator by profession now, and maybe also an astrophysicist. I don't know. And it turns out that there's a crossover, and it's roughly like element number, I think it was in the mid 40s, like 44 or something. And elements between iron and that are produced mostly in supernova, and elements heavier than that are produced mostly in colliding neutron stars. So that's pretty hardcore.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
So the gold that you have in your water.
Ethan Siegel has a badass beard. Or
Yes.
at least he does in the pictures I'm finding.
Oh no, yeah, no, he does. I asked like 5 or 6 rapid questions in the last 10 minutes of the stream when he was already 20 minutes over schedule. He was great. It was great.
He writes for Forbes?
He
Holy
used to.
crap.
Not anymore, but yeah, best science communicator in mainstream publications. I've been a fan of him for years. Excellent columnist.
Very cool.
Watch or your ring
I've
or
got to
whatever.
find out.
That was
about
that's
this
not
guy.
produced by this Earth. It's produced by a supernova. So a sun sacrificing itself produces elements of life. Okay? That's an easy thing to go to Jesus, the Son of God, sacrificing him.
This big old star is just like, I give my life so you can be.
Was it crucified?
For the glory of Jesus.
Himself.
Wow.
As soon as iron nails were nailed into his body, his life was almost over, and he self-sacrificed himself for. Okay,
He
that
had
one's
another
an easy one, and I
6
go through much more
hours.
detail
No, he
in the
didn't.
sketch. Okay,
He did
so let's go to the
fucking
moon.
not.
Earth. Okay.
He did not self-sacrifice. I know there's all this bullshit about, it was the plan all along. But Jesus made no bones about the fact he didn't want to do it through the entire fucking ordeal. Right up to the end when he's begging the Father to spare him this fate. Like, it's not a self-sacrifice if other people do it to you, you know?
But you're just ignoring all of the Gospels other than Mark. Okay, so you're clearly just working for Satan.
I mean,
I think he
that's probably true.
misspoke about the end of Jesus's life too, because it says like, yeah, sure, he was nailed to the cross, but it took a couple hours for that
Yeah,
dude to die, and
exactly.
he had to die of I don't know asphyxiation a little bit from his chest not being able to breathe because of the way he was hanging.
I'm gonna help our friend Professor Pennington here. Um, I think he should have said that it was when the iron or steel spear of the Romans stabbed into his side, and then
Mm,
he died. Right? Like
Yeah, he
that
was
would be an
dead.
upgrade. Yeah.
exactly that. I mean, way better. Because the nails, maybe the nails were bronze. You don't know that.
Yeah. I mean, fuck, they could be wooden. We don't know.
Oh yeah, didn't they find
I'm
one
pretty.
though?
I'm
Was it
pretty sure
iron
we can
or?
be confident they weren't wooden. I'm gonna give them
They could have been.
that.
Man, that would hurt.
Yep.
That's like cutting your arm with a butter knife, man.
Yeah, but that's sort of the point, is to make it a painful ordeal.
All right, let's keep going.
Okay. So in the entire universe, the only place we know life is on Earth, but it's not there by itself. The Earth needs a large moon to keep it in balance, and it needs a sun. So the three of these items, spheres, they dance through the cosmos together in a very balanced dance, and they create the only place in the universe that we have discovered life. Okay. All right. So now we have Jesus Christ, Adam and Eve, right? Creating the only spiritual life for the children of God, right? And so let's go to the moon. So
No.
in the solar system, you have 8 planets, a few dwarf planets now. Pluto's now a dwarf planet. I grew up, Pluto was a planet.
Yeah.
Pluto's got 5 moons. It's got a geographic that keeps moving around. That's got, it's not a dead planet. Like the moon's a dead planet, right? But anyway, so the Pluto, I believe, is still a planet, but it's a dwarf planet, okay?
Yeah.
So you have, and then you have 171 moons. So you have 1 sun, 8 planets, a couple dwarf planets, and 171 moons. It's about 193 objects. I'm not talking about asteroids. I'm just talking about spherical basic objects and moons that they claim as moons. Jupiter has 63 moons, right? There's no moons in Mercury and Venus. So if you're closer to the sun than the Earth, you
That's
have no
not
moon.
quite correct. Jupiter has roughly 63 to 83 moons, depending on how you're counting. But the vast majority of those are captured asteroids. So first he says, I'm only talking about spherical, natural, celestial objects, not asteroids, specifically not asteroids. And then he starts throwing out numbers that include fucking asteroids.
Including particularly conspicuously Phobos and Deimos on Mars, which are both absolutely asteroids.
Is he not aware of the theory that the moon is part of the Earth, or was?
No. I mean, earlier he said that the moon and the Earth are like exactly the same age, and I actually don't know at what point the Theia impact occurred. Assuming that it's correct, it's widely agreed upon, but it's not one of these things that's like hardcore.
Most people don't think about it either.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh, moon. Oh, must be super special, just like us.
Well,
It is a unique. Our system with the moon is unique in several ways. The moon is quite large compared to what you would expect because it didn't form the same way most other moons formed. So
Yeah, big giant moon is super cool. A lot of people kind of refer to Earth and the moon as co-planets because the moon is bigger than some planets. But well, maybe not that we've demoted the dwarf planets now, but whatever. But the fact that it's a dead moon is a little bit weird. Since we're dealing with the whole life thing. But he did say at the beginning of this segment that he was going to compare the Earth to Adam and the moon to Eve. So maybe there's something to that with the
That's where
impact
this
theory.
came from? I missed that part of the boat.
Yeah,
Okay.
the sun is Jesus, the Earth is Adam, the moon is Eve, and Jupiter is Satan for some reason.
So that's the Trinity and God's opposition? Okay.
Something
So
like that.
what I'm getting the sense of is that what we may have here is an example of the good old fashioned the P-town argument. Okay,
The moon is just the
we
right
got-
size.
the moon is just the right size. Therefore, eclipses are hardcore and awesome. Therefore, God exists, which is, as we all know, the P-town argument. So thanks for joining us, P-Town.
God.
I can do that too.
I wonder if he'll
Evil
become
Satan.
like Tangela was like last year. You could say his name and then he like shows up in your chat.
No,
Just, like,
yeah, but P-Town
like
actually
Beetlejuice.
does
might do
that.
that.
So maybe we
Yeah.
can like keep playing the video.
Mercury's a bachelor, Venus is a bachelorette. This Earth is the only planet that has one moon. Mars has 2. Jupiter has 63, right? Pluto has 5, right? Okay. So of all the things that we know of in the solar system that got created, they got created one way. Things crashing into their blah, 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 and they round. Okay, like that. Okay. Except for
Things crashing into each other, for the record, was the only part that he didn't just go blah, 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 blah over when he
Right.
just described how all the moons got made. He just described all the moons getting made as blah, 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 and things crashing into each other. Okay?
Yeah. Accretion is I mean, there was a lot of crashing into each other, but that's not quite the full story.
Yeah, but my point is the juxtaposition he's currently about to say, okay?
one way. Things crashing into their blah, 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 and they round. Okay, like that. Okay. Except for our moon. The scientists, the mathematicians, they figured out our moon is so large compared to the Earth. There is no way our moon was just floating by and Earth's gravity just grabbed it. It didn't happen. They now believe that something 4.5 billion years ago-ish, something very, very large crashed into our Earth.
Oh, okay.
Well, there it is. There it is.
That's what you said, my dude!
Oh, right, yeah. Things crashing into things. That's
You said
that's what we're talking
everything's
about.
crashing into each other, and now you're like, oh, no, that's not how the Earth formed.
Maya.
The moons were formed.
Put my comment up. Put my comment up.
You have a lot of comments in here.
No, I just made one.
Okay, never mind.
You know, I'm on blood pressure medication.
Here on Only Planets, we've got Venus and Mercury. They do the Big Bang.
You know, that's actually been theorized. Once our technology advances to the point we can start moving big celestial bodies around, what if we dragged Mercury back out and put it in orbit of Venus? It's
That'd be awesome.
heavier
Let's do it.
than our moon, but what would happen if we put another big giant moon around another Earth-sized planet?
Or what if we put it in a different place in our orbit? Would that work? Or would
I
we
think
eventually
that-
crash
that'd-
into them?
Well, you run into the three-body problem. If you have,
I have no
another
fucking
big
idea what
mass,
that
so dealing with that could be messy. But even if we got a
Three-body
stable
problem.
orbital
It's not a problem
resonance
for me.
thing, right? But even if we got a stable orbital resonance pattern going, the extra gravity that it might be good, it might be bad, but it would definitely cause more earthquakes and more volcanic activity and other tectonic nonsense. Why? Why,
This
Sumami?
is great. This is the best.
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 comment right there.
Welcome to my
Yeah,
channel.
no doubt.
Times.
I
And
fucking
You're
love
not
it.
fit
but
for
wow.
work.
My new
Rock, piece
pick
of
on
your food.
Only Planets is dwarf planets.
Hey, some people are into that kind of thing.
Off. Maybe 2 or 3 pieces. And they coalesced and became our moon. Now, the reason the moon is spherical is because it spun for a while. And as it cooled, it spun, but it slowed and slowed and slowed. And finally, now it's in a locked orbit. We only see one side of the moon all the time. There's a dark side we never see because it doesn't spin. It's just it's locked in. However, most scientists believe without such a large moon, there would be no life because it bounces the Earth as it spins. It creates the tides that come across and gives energy to the Earth, right? It's a vacuum. It sucks in
No.
asteroids. So they don't.
No.
God.
No. Okay, it doesn't give energy to the Earth. It actually takes energy away from the Earth. It slowed our rotation considerably. I think it's going to be like 100 million years, but we'll eventually have a 25-hour day because the Earth is drawing away our rotational energy as it recedes. Also, it's not a vacuum. It has no atmosphere, but it is not a Hoover. And it certainly, I mean, yes, it does take hits for us. Look at the surface of the moon. It's covered in craters. But it's not like it's stopping all impacts or anything. What is he freaking talking about?
There's... he makes it... he didn't actually say this, so maybe I'm just bringing this up because it's a point that I happen to actually know exactly how it happens, more or less.
If you say flood bukkake, we're gonna have words.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Ember, but I gotta go there. So flood bukkake is
The fountains of the deep opened and splooged on the moon.
yeah, no, that wasn't where I was going. The whole
That's an
thing
only
about the
planets
moon
money
slowing
shot.
down, it's a really cool phenomenon. It's a really cool phenomenon why the moon slows down and why it becomes tidally locked so one thing is facing us. It's a really cool phenomenon, and it has to do with the energy that is being expended as heat when bodies that are rotating and that are not perfectly symmetric like deform a little bit, but as a consequence of the differential gravitational forces that exist across their physical extent. So you have these differential gravitational forces which pull slightly different according to their distance from the center of the primary body that the thing is orbiting around. And because of that, the entire object will flex a little bit. And doing that, it expends a lot of energy as heat. And that energy has to come from somewhere. And where it ends up coming from when you do the calculation where you have to conserve energy overall, and you have to conserve orbital angular momentum, or just angular momentum overall, you see that the object stops rotating as much, and the orbit around the object gets a little bit larger, and it moves out some. And yeah, that's how. Yeah, but it's not magic, and it's not.
I mean, but how do magnets work?
Fucking magnet.
Not friends anymore. I'm done.
Oh, God.
Did Titan put you up to this?
I mean, maybe. I don't
I
see what that
bet
has to
he
do with
did.
anything.
Don't hit us, right?
Yeah.
And so without such a large moon, this moon that hovers over us, it really kind of keeps us in line to actually have temperatures that don't fluctuate too much, and we can have life. Okay. All right. So now, so in the solar system, the moons or the planets got created one way, but our moon got created differently than all other things in her competitive set. Let's just call the moon Eve, because she's a her to me. Okay. So in her competitive set, she's different than all the other. Okay. Go to the Genesis. The plants are created from the ground, which is easy because you see plants grow. It's not hard to write that, right? So no big deal. So the plants are created from the ground. It says the birds came from the ground. It says the beasts came from the ground, and Adam came from the dust of the ground. There's one thing that doesn't come from the ground: Eve. In her competitive set, Moses is writing. If he's writing the book of Genesis, we have this creation from the ground. Wait, the last one in her competitive set is not created. She's created from the side of something else. Right, and that's how I compare Eve to all of the other 100%. So that's how I compare Eve to the moon, because the moon has a similar story to that, right? So
I can totally imagine that working on me at a certain particular stage in my life. That argument right there that he made.
5. Kindergarten.
No. For me, it would have been right after I learned about Thea when I was like 14, and I was still religious, but I was also like learning about stuff, because that would have been a metaphor and a parallel that would have been really quite resonant with me at a certain level, and like I just I felt like it was incumbent upon me to own up to that in front of all y'all.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, we all used to be stupid.
Wait,
teenager me going, I mean, the all from the ground would totally throw me off, because I'd be like, no, life came from the oceans. Yes, trees grow out of the ground, but nothing. Yeah, it didn't. Oh, okay, the hydrosphere is part of the surface. I'll give you that. But this whole everything was created from dust. No, it came from the water and moved onto land. So the fact that he's completely fucking wrong about the first part, and then says, okay, well, the moon was made from a rib of the earth if you twist it and squint and look at it sideways. It kind of resonates a little bit, but not after that big whole disharmony about everything else being complete bullshit.
Well, yeah, but you're an antichrist.
Niddy, did you want to say something?
Where on a fucking spheroid is a side?
Where isn't a side?
So it came
there's
from
the
the
outside
side?
and the inside.
Came on the side. Yeah.
It came
Yeah.
from behind.
That tracks.
Okay, like that's how that dude got blown up in Star Wars.
And there's a lot more detail. I can't go through the whole chapter, but
That's amazing. And
bet you
the key
can.
word there that you said was that the moon hovers,
like a mother.
just like a mother. Hover
That's
mothers,
right.
helicopter
That's
mothers, right there.
That's right. Yeah. Without that moon, life would be pretty difficult to be here on Earth. Right? So anyway,
That's
so
amazing correlation. I mean, it's hard to look
that
at
make
that.
sense to
Think it's
anyone?
all
Hold on, pause. I've never heard anything more astronomical. Yeah, man. More
And it hovers.
astronomically, more
Just like a hover mother.
astronomically sexist.
You're right.
just coincidence.
No
that-
forethought.
Yeah, no forethought there.
Sorry, I
Yeah,
did
no
not mean to
forethought
start
there.
the video. I was just
Dr.
I
T,
was shooting things.
your hypothesis is confirmed. No forethought in this argument.
story of this guy's life, I'm sure.
Just
Okay.
all happened to line up perfect. Either Moses was brilliant and knew all this stuff already,
He was a savant.
and wrote a story, a gospel story that correlated perfectly with astronomy.
yeah. So let's go to Jupiter. Okay, so Jupiter
Or
is kind
wait,
of fun.
hold
So
on. Either he did this, or
Jupiter is mostly hydrogen and helium. It has the basic. Now this is from the NASA website. I went to NASA website and I read this. Jupiter, it says, is a small sun that never got. If it would have got about 80 times bigger, it would have had enough mass to spark the light, because it's mostly hydrogen and helium, right? And so it was trying to become a sun.
It was trying.
it was so
fine,
close,
yes.
you guys.
Yeah,
It was
No,
so
it
close.
totally had foresight. It totally had foresight. It wanted
guys,
to be a sun.
It was so close. Keep that in mind, how close it was, okay? Because it was right there. It just needed like a little bit more, right? Okay, that's how close it was.
But it couldn't get big enough. It couldn't get enough mass. Okay, Jupiter is one of the brightest things in the sky. Venus is very bright in the sky. And Jupiter, you say the sun, you have the moon, you have Venus, and then Jupiter. Jupiter's like the fourth biggest thing, brightest thing in the sky. So it's very bright. Okay, and Jupiter has its own little solar system. It has 63. So NASA says that if Jupiter would have got a little bit bigger, we would have had two suns in our solar system, and we would have had a solar system within our solar system.
Little
So
bit
it's
bigger.
mimicking the sun, like Satan mimics, right? Now, the craziest thing that when I did do my stuff,
What? Okay.
This is the best graphic ever.
It's 1/80th the size. It only needed to get a little bit bigger, and it has a miniature solar system. Okay, so there are a lot of binary stars. In fact, our sun is somewhat uncommon for not being part of a binary that we know of. There's talk of a hidden.
It's almost
but,
a part of.
but whatever. Yeah. But Jupiter's 1/80th the size. But also, he's comparing Jupiter to Lucifer because it's the second brightest non-sun in our sky. But Lucifer is specifically identified as the morning star, which means that Satan would be Venus, not Jupiter, right? Or am I just fucking losing my marbles?
Well, I mean, this guy's condition is contagious, so I don't blame you.
Yeah.
But this is an awesome graphic. You're absolutely right, Niddy. I'm not gonna disparage him of the choice in high quality graphics. And you'll notice how close that Jupiter is to the size of the moon, which is not a P-Town argument, but it's a P-Town type argument. And I think we're going to need to start making a classification where we have different subcategories. I'm really sorry, Maya. I'm sorry.
if I take 63 moons and I divide it into 191 objects, that's 1/3.
No.
So when Jupiter was coming of age,
No.
creating itself and in the solar system with it,
You son of a bitch.
Oh my God! 2 eclipses. That proves a double god.
That's true. But 63 moons, which include a fuck ton of asteroids going into 193 spherical objects. These moons, most of them are not spherical objects. You lying sack of shit.
its gravitational tail,
Indeed.
it pulled in 1/3 of all the hosts of the heavens in our solar system around itself. If you go to Genesis, Revelation, it says that when Satan was kicked out of heaven, the big war in heaven, Satan, it says the dragon, drew with its tail 1/3 part of the hosts of heaven. And that's my second chapter.
So, what a coincidence.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So
because you've mentioned in some of your books that
Hold on.
you have atheist friends.
So
What a coincidence.
Yeah, but this is something that you could do with almost anything, right? Like I could go in my Lego bins and find like exactly 1/3 of my pieces are this one size, and they all fell down, just like 1/3 of the angels fell from heaven. Satan must be engineering my Legos. Like, you can draw these correlations to random sets of objects or factoids, which really have no actual relationship to one another whatsoever. Like, I woke up at 3:33 in the morning for no reason except Satan wanted to tell me that he's waking me up. Like, we could do this all day. Like,
Yep.
cocaine math.
All right, we're at the 2-hour mark. You guys I'm willing to push it
This was
to
fun.
2.5. Are you guys good, or anybody got to be up for work in the
Well,
morning?
I know we were gonna have I think there was gonna be an after show.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
Yeah,
So
Stephanie
we don't have to
mentioned an
start
after
that
show.
too late. Yeah, I'll
No,
go
no,
to
no.
that,
I'm
too.
saying an extra half hour. That's all I'm saying, because I have.
I mean, I
Yeah.
can. You know me.
Yeah,
I'll go
yeah.
all
We
for
got
tonight.
11 more minutes.
All right, yeah,
No.
we can do this. All right,
All
let's
right.
go.
Run. Put it at 1.25, and then we'll maybe stop at less.
I've been at 1.25.
Oh. Oh God.
Friends, we've had these discussions with atheists.
Yeah.
I only started at 1.25 at about this point, though.
Ah,
So,
I mean, if this is
What's
their
the,
cadence at 1.25, I would have probably died watching this.
oh yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I didn't watch like every single moment of it all the way through. Okay, what do I look like? A responsible like co-host? No.
What's the gotcha they always throw at
You
you?
wanna
It's
try to
that
go for
they
1.5?
Don't think you can get past that. It's like, well, religion can't be true
Do it.
because of this. What's their number one?
it's mainly science. Yeah, it's mainly
Yeah.
science. And so, a lot of things I've taught today is a lot of
It's not.
theo-
It's
is a lot
not
of
mainly
circumstantial
science.
evidence.
He just
No,
said
it's
that
not.
science is the main reason that people like stop being religious. That's not a thing. That's not how any of this works.
yeah. No, people.
It's a reason they stop being a young Earth creationist, maybe, and that might cause them to be a thing. But there's a critical central other thing there.
Yeah, most scientists today are still religious. It's not a problem for them. And also, I mean, again, not to speak for everyone, but I would say the people that I've spoken to, the vast majority, it's because lack of any reason to believe the thing. Like when they really think about it, like they don't see God, God's not there, they reach for God and they get nothing. You know, he never calls, he never writes, so they break up with him.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly. I mean, that's what happened with me.
So again, I tell them I don't know if you're right,
Yeah.
but I don't know you're wrong. I believe you're wrong, right? And so it comes down to they usually have evolution or science or whatever, and I just say listen. You go back to Genesis. Moses got a pen. He's gonna write picture, and he says the birds came from the ground. Okay, you see this beautiful bird fly by. Okay, it's 1,300 years BC, 3,000 years ago. Okay. All right, I don't know how someone would say, okay, he's not saying the bird was in a field on the ground over here and then it flew up in the air. He's not saying that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me do this. Okay, there's a big jet airliner flying through the sky. Parker, you've been living in a cave your whole life. And you come out of the cave and I'm the first guy you met. And you see this big jet airliner flying. You can see the people in the window flying by, right?
Yeah.
And you're going, John, where'd that come from? And I say, Parker, that jet came from the ground. And you go, no. And I go, wait, the metal.
Where the hell else would it come from? You think it?
It could be a landing spaceship. It came from outer space, and it's who knows?
Like when before they take off, you know who they're talking to when they're on the ground, on the airport. They're talking to like sometimes at a big airport. They're talking to a ground controller before they talk to like the air controller because they're all on the ground.
Well, you remember how I
You're not
said
into an airport.
remember how I said we like heuristics, we like shortened forms of narratives to answer a simple question or to make it transmissible or coherent for an audience. We'll skip
Contagious.
those middle steps just so we can boom get this across, right? So when Moses said the birds came from the ground, you can interpret that as another heuristic, right? God went through an extended process to make the appropriate creatures that eventually had flight. Like there's a much better way to read this than poof bird dust, dust than poof bird than fly. Like
Oh yeah,
like
I'd have to.
Moses was that stupid. Like give the author more credit. Like, but he did think bats were birds. So
Yeah, I'd have to ask somebody who actually speaks Hebrew, like Tomer or something. But I would bet a nickel that the word in the original version was that birds came from the earth rather than the ground or
Right.
the dust or whatever.
well, even then, like if the I think the word formed is like equivalent to like worked into or doing some kind of process. It's not like it. So yeah, it's complicated.
Mm.
Came from the ground. The gas in the gas tanks came from the ground. The rubber in the field came from the ground. The plastics came from the ground. The glass in the windows is heated up sand came from the ground. Literally, that is from the ground. Now, the fact that I don't tell you how man took sand and heated it up and made glass doesn't mean it's not true.
Yeah.
The fact that I don't tell you how they melt metal together and smelt metal and iron ore doesn't mean it's not true.
My dude is overthinking this so much. Okay, they take off from the ground. Okay, that's all. Planes come from the ground.
Well, he's doing exactly what I said. You know what people
Exactly.
don't do. But go on.
You're totally right.
So the fact that God tells you the bird came from the ground, the fact that he doesn't tell you how long it took him, but it does tell you he made it from the ground. Okay, so what I'm saying to you is the fact that I don't tell you where the plane came from, or how it did, or how long it took, doesn't mean it's not true. And the fact that I say, hey, the bird came from.
So I want to give him a little bit
Wait.
of credit because he's actually making the point that you were sort of making, Niddy.
Yeah. But then if he starts seeding that, then you could do that same thing for every single day of creation. Why not? Why not? The word yom means some age indeterminate amount of time. Congratulations, you can get 13.8 billion years out of Genesis.
Yay!
Yeah.
The ground. Doesn't, you know
Burn
why?
your book.
Evolution says the bird came from the ground. And the Bible says the bird came from the ground. Now, they had some water in there. I'm saying it says also that there was sprinkled water over the ground and all these things happen. And it does mention water. I'm not saying it doesn't mention water, but I'm just using it as an easy, because I'm sure they use water to make sand. I'm sure glass. I'm sure they used a little bit of water to make iron ore. I know there's water involved. I'm just using as a simple, because we don't have time to go into the whole thing today. So anyway, so that's how I push back on the science is, and I say, I don't know how a guy 3,300 years ago, said, I'm going to write some fiction with a pen, some ink, a quill, and I'm going to say birds came from the ground, and one day everyone knows it's true. And they know, and they believe.
What?
Believe evolution is true. Birds did come from the ground, but we're not going to give Moses credit for saying it. He's the first one that said it.
Right.
He's said it, right? And
He
the fact
is
that
not.
your religious leader or pastor can't figure out.
This is not. Bert.
No.
What? Just
Even
what?
if it
Come
were
on.
true,
This is-
the whole
I don't
fucking
even-
thing, like
Which
Moses
part of this is
probably
supposed
never
to be
actually
impressive?
existed.
Which part of this is supposed to be impressive?
Well, and the other thing is that is like, I wish there was a word for like spiritual racist, like because it is like, and that's one of the things I've noticed too that apologists will do. Like Christians invented the modern sense of science. Like, fuck you. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, just look at any sensible amount of world history. You're full of shit. Like. And look at any kind of sets of creation myths that didn't come from the ancient Near East. You're full of shit. Like, Moses was not the first one to come up with some kind of idea that there was a god somewhere in the sky that made the specials, that made the special stuffs. Like, you're so wrong.
I love it.
Or doesn't believe it happened over billions of years or happened in one day. I don't want to argue that on this discussion. I can argue in my book. You can go read my book. But the fact that I don't tell you how long or how doesn't mean it's not true.
Yeah.
And evolution agrees with the Bible. The Bible agrees with, they both agree. Birds did come from the ground. They agree. So what's the argument? Oh, the time.
What is the argument?
That's the
What
argument.
is your
And so
point
the how
about
and
any of
the time, I don't know how to put that together, but science pushes back on that.
And John's point isn't that he's disproving
No.
evolution. He's saying no, they work together. You can believe both. You can believe science. You can believe evolution.
Believe the Bible
You can believe the Bible. And if we have the faith,
and not the detail.
exactly, and if we have the faith, we
Yes.
can
then
logically,
burn your
critically
book.
think them through.
Yes, if you just set aside all the details, pesky facts and things, then they work together perfectly. Why didn't we think of this sooner?
Because we're dumb and we hate God and we hate Jesus.
Or you could do what a lot of theologians have done throughout the ages, is look more deeply into the text through an interpretive framework, of course, and find a way to reconcile your current set of data with this ancient text. And lo and behold, if there's just one chance in a million, I believe it.
Then you believe in God.
Oh, yeah.
I could interpret it this way.
Gotta lower that epistemological bar.
Yeah,
That's what we gotta do.
rather than raising
Lower
the bar, I lower it.
In a way that
Or
will allow
your
it to work together and understand.
standards.
We will understand. And I think, like you just keep coming back to this idea that it just comes down to what we choose to believe. We can choose
Yes.
to disbelieve, and we can find a ton of arguments to shut down evolution. We can find a ton of arguments to shut down God.
Yes.
Or if we choose to believe one or the other, or both, we can find arguments, we can critically think, we can research, and find answers to make them work together.
It takes too much faith.
No!
I couldn't do it.
That's not what critical thinking is. That's
the
the opposite
opposite.
of what critical thinking is.
Just choose your conclusion and then critical think your way to make that be real somehow. Motherfucker.
Let's go.
Let me give you one more, and I can't go into
No, go ahead.
detail, but I just again, I don't have time. A book is a book because of I can do detail.
Yeah.
But one of my chapters is protons, electrons, and neutrons versus God, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost.
Yeah.
What?
And I compare the proton to Jesus, I compare the neutron to God, and I compare the electron to the Holy Ghost. If you take those three things in different quantities, you can make anything universe, right? And if you take God, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost, they create, in theology, they create everything, right? And I'll focus on the Holy Ghost because in the nucleus, there's always the proton and the neutron in the middle, and they make the mass, most mass is there. The electron is around somewhere. They don't know where it's at. You never know where it's at exactly. It's everywhere but nowhere.
The electron
Holy Ghost
is
everywhere but nowhere.
the electron is fending off Jupiter because Jupiter is Satan. God, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost are but Jupiter, all of Jupiter is Satan. So the Holy Ghost is busy keeping the entire fucking planet of Jupiter at bay. Why?
Is one thing on the periodic table, one thing that doesn't have a neutron. There's one element. It's hydrogen, the first element. Okay, and I make a scenario in Mormon theology. Okay, God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Ghost came and created, and some other angels, and Michael the archangel, and they came and created this whole earth. Okay, and it says in Ephesians that there was a mystery in heaven. And I think it's Ephesians 3:9, but I can't exactly remember. But it says in Ephesians that there was a mystery in heaven that God, in sundry times and dire places, blah blah, blah, the earth, did all things by Jesus Christ. So it was God's plan, but Jesus Christ did it all. Okay, now. And there's one scripture in the Doctrine and Covenants that does this again, but I can't do it here justice because I don't have time. Okay, so this is just particular for Latter-day Saint. All right, so everything is created by Jesus and the Holy Ghost. I assume the Holy Ghost is there, but it's all created by Jesus. And the Bible says it. And all.
Is he saying that Jesus is here?
The weasels are in need of rescue.
I don't. He was talking about electrons and protons and I don't remember a lot of it, but
Dr.
I
T
think
is
I might have a
traumatized.
hemorrhage in the middle of my cerebral cortex. So
From
that's a possibility.
after I left Christianity, I looked more into the preceding Jewish beliefs at the time of Jesus. And one of the most fascinating and intriguing things that I discovered was that the gospel authors had a precedent or a contemporary named Philo of Alexandria who is saying almost word for word what the Christian Bible says and what this Mormon is currently saying. There are passages in Philo that will read like John 1:1 and Colossians 1, I think 13 to 15. where it's this idea that there was this essence or being that was a subsidiary of not God the Father, but like God as an entity, and through that agent or force, everything. Like God used that as a conduit to create all things and form all things, and through that conduit, all things are still being sustained. Gee, that sounds a lot like a bunch of Christian concepts, and yet everybody who's gone on to believe some form of Christianity is completely co-opting something that was borrowed from a Jewish theologian and is not unique to Jesus. Congratulations. Your religion's not special.
Isn't that I realize that Christianity pretty much
Also-
ignores the Ten Commandments, but isn't "Thou shalt not steal" one of those things that they're
Well,
like, supposed to do?
if you go with the Joshua Bowen kind of way of understanding how people viewed the ability to mix or adapt religious belief, to them it wasn't stealing. It was, let's use this understanding of God or the gods to incorporate what we believe about the gods, or to amend, or to maybe even just be against another religious belief, but it's still they're very close together, but they're not thinking of it as, haha, I want your idea, I take it. Like,
Oh, they're recycling. They're being, intellectual conservationists.
it's kind of like when Cardi B throws an old Missy Elliott lyric in her song, so your ass is shaking and you're like, hey, I'm a lose control. I'm a lose control. I get it.
I lose control all the time when I listen to these people. Terrible.
Okay. But it says in the Pearl of Great Price that it says the Lord God said to his son, beloved son, is man upon the earth? And he goes, no. Okay, let us go down and create man. So when it came to the most sophisticated thing, it took all three. Okay? God had to step in for all things sophisticated, right? Being man is the most sophisticated. The most complex thing in the universe right now is the human brain.
Yeah.
There's nothing more complex. No one's ever found anything more complex than the human brain. They might create some AI.
I'm sorry.
Well,
What about ecosystems containing the human brain? Just like it's such a trivial thing to come up with a system more complicated than the human brain. Okay, human brains are remarkably complicated. The reason we know they're so complicated is because we've spent so much time studying them for fairly obvious reasons.
Computer in the future, but right now,
Yeah.
you can't. It's the most complex thing. So, so when you go back and you say, well, wait a minute, to create anything more complicated than the number one on the periodic table, the hydrogen has no neutron, and I make that comparison. You need God, Father, to create everything more sophisticated, and then you can create helium and carbon and iron and gold, right, all the way up the periodic table, and so that's one chapter called protons, neutrons, electrons.
This
So
guy
a
has a chapter.
neutron-
He has
a
a chapter
neutron
in his book
bomb.
about this.
is a god bomb.
Chapter of woo. Like,
This guy probably would have used the term God particle to describe the neutron, but it was taken.
Right? I wonder what he makes of when a neutron emits an electron, becomes a proton, and also emits an antineutrino. What would that be then? The Father
Black
turns
magic.
into Jesus, the Holy Ghost, and other?
yeah.
It's black
all
magic.
I've got here is, Jesus is helium.
Versus God, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost. And I make that comparison again. I think that's chapter 5 or 6, something like that. So that's in Big Bang Theory versus the Bible. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So that's why I tell people, look, atheists might be correct. I'm just saying, just give me 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Let me put a little, maybe you're not going to go to zero. Maybe you're still a one believer, right? You're not going to go to zero, right? And maybe after just a few of my chapters or a few of my podcasts or a few of my audiobooks, and you just, as you're driving your car, listen to a few chapters, you might go, you know what? Maybe I'll stay a believer just for one more day. One more day, I'll stay a believer.
Well, and that's what Alma says, right, in the Book of Mormon. He says, even if all you have is a particle of faith, even a desire to believe, even if you're at 1%, says John, just allow that to work within you, and God can work with 1%.
We want believers.
Yeah.
We don't need people who know.
This is it's so transparently about letting confirmation bias rule the day. You can make yourself believe anything if you really do what they're subscribing to. Like eventually you'll stop realizing that you're just trying to make yourself believe a thing, and you will make yourself believe it. Like there is something to be said for that being true, but that's not how. Yeah, religion is the only time that actually like happens.
You know, I've listened to so many bad Christian channels lately that I think Donald Trump should run for 2024.
But shut
Oh
your
God!
mouth. What the fuck,
I'm
dude?
kidding. I'm
Guys,
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
We're having technical
that's very
Niddy,
difficulties.
you're
similar, right?
canceled.
Oh,
Our
man.
audio seems to have been hacked.
I've heard it
our-
so many times, and I'm just choosing now. I'm just gonna believe it.
Okay, sorry.
I
Our
see.
liberal shill alarms are going off. Maya, do you see this? So we might. All right, we're just gonna keep going.
Christ didn't come to earth to tell you who you are. He didn't come down here and say, Parker or John, this is better for me. If Christ's message was to come down and say, John Pennington, you're an idiot, and I'd go, you know what, I already know that. John, you're a
Yeah,
whatever.
I
already know
John.
this, right? John, you're a, I already know this. That's not Jesus' message. Jesus did not come to earth to tell us who we are, because we already know who we are. Jesus came to earth to tell us who we can become. That's it.
Bro, what? He didn't tell me anything. I'm sorry.
Your situation is pathetic. You are not altruistic. You are blah, 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 blah. But you don't have to stay that way. Yeah. I have a program that if you follow over years, you will actually change. It's very difficult. You can become, you're born selfish. You can actually become altruistic, but it's not easy. It takes time. It takes fasting once a month, right? Giving some, it takes a lot of things. I have a program. I'm not worried about who you are. We all know. But I think you know what you can become. And I think if you follow my teachings, the Jesus Christ teaching, you'll become something that you had no idea you could become. Over 40 or 50 or 80 years on this planet, you'll go, wow. And if you had a twin brother or a twin sister and they didn't, and they just lived the world and whatever, after 80 years, you go, this person became this, and this other person, the twin became, because why? Jesus Christ teachings. Whether Jesus Christ is real or not real, the principles he teaches helps you to become something that you're not. And being a true person of charity, which they teach all through the Bible and all Christ's number one message, charity, 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 forgive others. It's very difficult to do as a human, but I think that's the plan. What can you become? And so that's what I would leave you with. It takes too much faith to be an atheist. It's way less faith to just believe that there was forethought in the universe before the Big Bang, that forethought didn't just start existing a few years ago, that a universe that has no forethought exists 99% of its time and creates something with forethought. That takes a lot of faith.
Yeah.
More faith than I have. And I'll end it kind of with that unless you have another question.
That's perfect.
More brain cells than you have. Maya, put me up there.
Right here. Where are you?
What happened?
Just here we go. Oh, sorry.
Dancing
I
weasel.
died for this. I mean, really. I died for this. This was an egregious display. We are all as dumb as me for hearing this.
Right.
I award you no points.
Okay. I have constructed the new model of the universe. It's the Father, the Holy Ghost, and not real.
I thought that said ugly ghost.
I scribbled quickly. It doesn't matter if it's real. It's here to change your atomic structure.
Do you believe it's there?
I mean,
I might not know, but hot damn.
if I put my mind to it, I could probably change your atomic structure.
Oh my.
My daughter.
It's not a sexy thing. It would end in cancer. It's not great. Okay, it's not great.
It could be.
I don't know.
That was part one.
Oh my god.
We're not doing part two today.
Oh my god, I don't believe in.
Yeah, I mean, the bar is
Alright.
Indian, my
man.
friend. The bar is
I do want to thank our guest host today. You guys have been awesome. And you guys have been great sports. Ember, did you want to let everybody know who are you, where are you, and what do you have coming up this week?
Oh goodness. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm Ember, as you may have guessed from my name. You can find me at Better Than Ember, And this week I've got a couple of regular videos. I usually do a bunch of way too many lives, but the only one I've got for sure on the schedule right now is my birthday mega live stream, which is going to be a long freaking stream. But we're gonna tell a story that begins with some innocent, fresh-faced, new-ish evangelists with only a few million followers, and we're going to connect the dots between a few other scammers. I mean, Christians, and we're going to reach a point where we're going to reveal some of the horrible things that people who are parts of these fundamentalist cults are at risk at, that they do harm not just to others, people they try to restrict their rights and whatnot. There's harm to the individual members. And then we're going to do an open room. So it'll be a long stream with a whole lot to go over, and hopefully you can join us, at least for part of it.
All right. Niddy. Who are you? Where are you? What do you have coming up this week?
I'm Niddy, the animated atheist. I run a channel that's a goofy place. It's it began as a commentary on the culty, sucky Christian church that I was a part of, and I still give some grifty and problematic Christians a hard time through live commentaries on my channel. And then I do generally like one-on-one conversations every now and again. I want to this week talk about a few experiences I've had with my family, and then maybe do an open room after that. And then there was something that I saw that I wanted to review. Oh, yeah. I'm going to give Jay Warner Wallace's channel a hard time this week to boost my algorithm. And I just wanted to say, before we close this out, my daughter really liked this song on like some cartoon or whatever that she watches. And I thought about these lyrics almost the entire time. Are you ready?
If you start singing Baby Shark,
No.
And kill you.
No. It's like some little girl song. You ready?
Okay.
You can do it. If you see it, you can be it. You believe it, you achieve it. You just DREAM.
I love it. Oh my god. Okay. Well,
I can only imagine how much you've seen that.
I've heard this song hundreds of times.
Doc, you doing anything this week? Can you top that?
No, never. I don't think I do have anything planned this week, but I also I'm saying that and I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I don't know. That's all I got. Sorry.
So, everybody wants to know when you're going to start adding content.
Yeah. So, you know how pigs they don't do a lot of flying. So when that changes, maybe I don't know.
With a trebuchet, we can fix that.
We can. Oh, but you did a content.
Oh no.
I don't know if you could hear it, but
I can't hear it, and you should be able to hear it because this one is only nested 3 deep. So you should be able to...
I mean, maybe, I don't know. Yeah. Oh, right. Let's see.
No, I still don't hear it.
I think it lost the audio at the second step, but I
no,
don't know
it was definitely the last one actually, which was the 4th one, not even the 3rd one. I don't know what happened.
Oh god, yeah, I don't know.
That's going to be a thing that y'all see in the future because I have an extremely large ego. So
I mean, it is pretty fabulous having 4 layers of reality all involving dancing weasels, which implies that a dancing weasel is statistically inevitable across the multiverse.
Got at least
This
3
is
weasels there.
yeah, and we can beat it, chat. Maybe I'll do some original content where I just dance with myself like ad infinitum. I could just go on and I can just have that be the thing on OBS that I'm streaming.
That's true.
Well, I, you're not wrong, Purple. Okay, I don't.
Everybody getting called out today.
Oh God! All right, guys, this has been so much fun. All right, we're coming up in 2.5 hours. Thank you so much for coming on. I think you guys are all a friend of the show. Been on, yeah, I think I've been on both your channels. You've both been here before, so we're all friends. And see
Yeah,
you
thank you,
throughout
Maya.
the week.
This has been super fun.
This is fun. Yeah.
The hair pulling out notwithstanding, it's been a great time.
It hasn't been worse than anything that you guys have done in your own channels.
That's true.
No, yeah, especially with how much I talk about wieners and in the Bible.
I will be heading over to our wonderful friend Stephanie Helms' channel.
Oh yeah, thank you for reminding me. Stephanie
So,
Holmes
yeah.
is doing a thing, Bad Science Sunday after show.
Although on the East Coast, where Stephanie lives, it is now no longer Sunday officially.
Oh yeah, it's Monday morning, midnight.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm not jumping in the chat, but I will be I'll be in the side chat doing the mod thing. Except that you'll now be doing the streamer thing. So thank you all.
Yee.
And we'll see you next Sunday. What?
Yep.
Did I miss
Night,
somebody?
folks.
Nope.